Good morning.
The bill was unchristian, which again probably sounds weird to people, but in all of Jesus' teachings, he's always focused on the outsider, the outcast, the person who's left out, or the person who's different. And so, as a Christian, I think my concern is for the Muslim kid, and the Jewish kid, the Hindu kid, the atheist kid who's sitting in the classroom, who now has a poster on the wall, forced by the government, that says, your religion is inferior, or you're not welcome here. And I just think
I don't think that's what that says,
Jesus
but
saw
okay.
that, he would weep for those students and would demand that we love them as
I'm gonna
disagree
with just about everything this guy says.
Theological grounds, not just.
And that's why I'm watching, I think.
So what is the bill? Can you explain?
Yeah. So the bill forces every teacher in the state to display the Ten Commandments in their classrooms.
Is this even in private schools?
It's only public schools. Because that's really where we have authority as the state legislature.
I mean, that's weird.
And the bill, this is going to sound weird, but it even it specifies how big the poster is, the dimensions of it. It has to be in a conspicuous place. It's basically the size of a sheet of paper, regular sheet of paper. The idea is they didn't want anyone to make it too small to where someone wouldn't read it. But the bill says that the school doesn't have to spend money on it; it can be donated. And that sounds fine to most people until you realize there's this huge network of Christian nationalist organizations that are already preparing to flood every school with these Ten Commandments posters for all of their classrooms. So the donation thing sounds like it's kind of innocuous until you realize that the donations are already ready to go from all these outside groups. So there's going to be legal challenges, of course, but if it's not struck down in the courts, every teacher is going to have to put up the Ten Commandments in their classroom against their wills, even if they don't want to.
Oh, what a fucking tragedy.
Again, speaking as a Christian, if we have to force people to put up a poster, to me that means that we have a dead religion. A religion that no longer moves people, a religion that no longer speaks to people's hearts. If we have to prove our legitimacy by micromanaging what teachers put up in their classroom, to me that means we have a real crisis in our faith. We should be leading by example, not by mandate.
How did this get proposed, and what is the support for it?
Well, the support is pretty broad within the Republican caucus. Again, I serve in the state.
Is it universal?
Where's my purple fish?
Yeah, I don't think there was a single Republican who voted against it this time around.
That's
and
how
again,
it goes.
I serve in the state legislature. A lot of people think that I'm a congressman. I serve here in Austin at the state capitol.
What is your position?
So I'm a state representative. So I serve. There are two chambers, just like the federal government, a Senate and a House. I serve in the House, in the state House. So the Republicans have a majority in the House and in the Senate. I'm a member of the Democratic Party. So I literally can't get anything done without working on a bipartisan basis. It's actually a blessing in this modern era where we're all tribalized and polarized that I am forced to work with people who have completely different views than I do. And actually, you get to know them. In D.C., from what I hear, I've only been to D.C. a few times in my life, but from what I hear, you're
just
really
said you were a
separated
congressman.
physically from your colleagues. You don't spend a lot of time talking to each other anymore. It's a lot of fundraising and events, and not really a lot of relationship building. In the state capitol, you don't have the same media scrutiny, the same spotlight, so we can still get to know each other and go out to eat with each other and meet each other's families. And I actually
want
think
my purple fish,
it's something that
my
we could
purple
benefit
fish.
from at the national level, is that kind of camaraderie and professional working relationships with people across
Get
the aisle.
fucking
Tulsi
radicals
Gabbard
and
told
Tucker.
me she tried to do a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not
when
finish
she was a
watching all
congresswoman.
this.
Yeah.
So normally when I do an unconventional interview with like Putin or the president of Iran,
I'll
people
just
get
get upset
mad and
with
they
that.
ask, why are you talking to
Lady.
him? This is one of those very rare, maybe unique circumstances where people are going to ask you,
Yes.
why are you talking
She's
to him?
pretty.
Yeah.
And people are going to get mad.
People are going to get very angry. I know. And your producers had been reaching out trying to get me to talk to you for at least a year and a half. And my feelings toward coming on your show went from I would never in a million years to kind of giving myself the opportunity to listen to your podcast, to figure out who you really are. Because, of course, I had very strong thoughts about who you are.
Really?
Yeah, but I realized that it was based on clips that I would watch of you that had gone viral, and they had gone viral because they were offensive, or
Let's
you
do
had
it
said
live.
something that was
Viral like syphilis is viral.
I mean, pretty much. I mean, you should think of it that way because it was mostly painting you in a very negative light.
Purple fish, I want my purple fish. But do.
And to be sure, you and I have some pretty deep disagreements, but I think that some of what you've been talking about lately like hits at the heart of what I care most about, and that's the importance of this country representing the American people, the importance of the United States being a sovereign country that has politicians and a government that prioritizes the American people as opposed to a
That's
foreign
not a
government.
thing.
And speaking out the way you've been
Purple
speaking out about
fish.
some of these issues takes a lot of courage because it goes against the grain and it goes against, I mean, decades of propaganda and conditioning in American media. And so to
got-
me, that
A little fast food breakfast this morning.
commonality that you and I share
I got a
made
small
me a lot
iced
more
coffee.
open-minded to coming on this show.
I think there's
Because I do
probably
think that
20 cups
Americans
of sugar in it.
from across
It
the
tastes like I'm
political
drinking
spectrum,
diabetes.
need to find
It's
areas
delicious.
of agreement, especially as it pertains to
But holy
making this
poop.
country better, so we can apply appropriate pressure on our politicians and get them to represent
Sugar,
us.
sugar, sugar.
Regardless of
America.
corruption, regardless of the influence of foreign governments, at the end of the day, these politicians are nothing if it isn't, if it weren't for the American people,
Right.
So, like right now, what's really interesting is in Congress, it appears that there's this bipartisan effort to force a vote to release the Epstein files.
Yes.
Sure.
And the only reason why that's happening is because there's a very loud and aggressive portion of the MAGA base that's demanding it, and they're not letting it go.
Nope.
And I commend them because I agree with them. I think we need transparency. We need to know whether or not we literally have members in our government or influential people, you know, in the periphery of our government who are pedophiles. I want to know.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think it's
interesting,
quite fair.
The framework that you laid out, the government of any country ought to be sovereign, which is to say it should make most of its big decisions on the basis of what's good for the people that it represents. And it's bad when foreign countries control your country.
Mm-hmm.
Those don't strike me as hateful statements at all. Those aren't expressions of animus against anybody, are they?
I don't think they're hateful statements at all. I'm an American. I love this country. I love the people in this country. And I don't want
I
to
love
live
you?
in this ridiculous, like,
Maybe?
perversion of the American government where they pretend to represent us, but in reality, Americans are on the back burner. Our tax dollars are being taken from us, not to help Americans who
Viva
need help,
Revolution.
but to give all sorts of subsidies to private
Come on,
industries that are
Purple.
already doing really well. Okay, they don't need extra subsidies or tax cuts or things like that. But in addition to that, all the foreign aid that we're pumping into the Middle East, Israel, right? Oftentimes when we talk about foreign aid that goes to Israel, at this point, I believe it's about, what, $4 billion a year, on top of all of the military aid that we've been pumping into Israel over the last 2 years. I mean, it's unacceptable to me that we're
I
doing
love
that.
giving welfare
And in
to
the
other
backdrop
countries.
of that,
It's great.
You have the United States Congress cutting $1.1 trillion to Medicaid? Really? That's the problem? That's where we need to cut funding from? By the way, also cutting funding to food assistance? How do you justify sending tens of billions of dollars to Israel in the last 2 years alone while targeting cuts to Medicaid and food stamps? It makes me beyond angry. I think it's so unbelievably unjust. And if you speak out about it
Correct.
the way I'm doing right now, I'm sorry, I'm getting like kind of aggressive. If you speak
It's
out
okay,
about
I
it like
like
I
it,
am
baby.
right now, people try to smear you as an anti-Semite. And you know what? I'm not an anti-Semite. I know what's in my heart. And I'm not going to let those smears stop me from saying what I know is
Purple
correct and
fish!
what's morally just.
I need my purple
Is it
fish!
possible that
Purple fish!
people are slandered in order to prevent conversations like this
Yes.
from happening
Yes,
in the
definitely.
first place.
Damn.
You said, I was hesitant to come on the show. I mean, the reason we wanted
Come
to
on,
book
baby.
you and a bunch of people who work for me had the same feeling, is that is what you just said. Like, we can disagree on all kinds of things, but if the fundamental orientation is the U.S. government ought to make a good faith effort to improve the lives of Americans,
But why would
that's
they
not a
do that?
partisan statement.
It's not
That's a
profitable.
crazy
We have to go to
out-there
war.
sentiment At all.
Let's
And
go to
we
war.
saw that. It was like, oh, yeah.
War,
And then you-
then war,
Yeah, but
and maybe a little more war.
can't
Yeah,
do the
yeah.
Nazi show.
It's so, I mean,
And
yes.
so you sort of want, like, I have all kinds of stupid opinions. I've said all kinds of stupid things. I've had ugly opinions in the past. I'm not defending every opinion I have had or even currently have. I'm merely saying to reduce someone to a caricature is a kind of tactic to
The funny thing
prevent
is,
anyone from
I'm hunting
having
a shiny
political conversation
Kyogre,
with the person.
but
It's
I
meant
like
to discredit
the blue
and
fish
yeah,
more.
you're right. It's meant to stop these types of conversations.
Kyogre
from
is like
happening.
one of my
now,
favorite
you
Pokemon.
are very conservative. I'm not very conservative.
Mm-hmm.
I have some views that lean more conservative than progressives feel comfortable with, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, what drives my politics is this desire for everyone to thrive economically. And you know, you've been speaking out
Well,
about
how
that.
is that? So what is the difference? If I could, I mean, I would hope that would be like everyone's
Right.
desire. It's not.
It's not,
exactly
no.
Right, at all.
Purple
But what does
fish,
it mean
purple
to be
fish,
not to get too philosophical here, but what,
Yeah.
what does it mean to be conservative or liberal at this
diabetic
point?
drink.
Well, I don't think that the political labels that we currently have in this country make much sense anymore, to be honest with you.
I've
So,
noticed, yeah.
but I'm talking about like traditional conservatism. You know, I believe in reproductive rights to a point.
Right.
You know, I know that you're anti-abortion.
Big time.
Yeah. So like that's a disagreement we have,
Right.
and I'm not at all going to like come on this show and capitulate on my beliefs.
Right,
But I think that those are important issues. I'm not minimizing them.
right.
But I feel that we can't even really engage in a real debate about policy or specific issues unless we know we have we're living in a sovereign country and we have a government that actually has interest in representing us.
Right, because it doesn't really matter otherwise.
Right.
If, you know, people keep voting for different things but get the same result,
Exactly.
then the system is fake, and that's the point where people start to go crazy and do radical violent things, which I'm completely opposed to. I just want to say that at the outset. I
Yeah.
hate violent radicalism more than anything, and I feel like that's the result of people realizing their system is fake. So you have to make it kind of real.
You're right about that, and you know, we've been seeing more and more political violence in this country,
Yes.
and it's terrifying. I mean, I'm not justifying it, but I can explain why it's happening.
for sure.
You know, and I don't want things to devolve further. And here's the other reason why I decided to come. So I knew that you moved here. You moved to like a rural part of the country, and I live in a big city. And I think that living in a big city and spending most of your time in a big city kind of blinds you to the rest of America. A lot of Americans live in rural parts of the country.
Yes.
And I want the opportunity to like speak to them, like get to know them, understand where their hearts and their minds are at. And so I saw it as an opportunity to like expose myself to people that I otherwise wouldn't get an opportunity to speak to. And, you know, I think you've hired like drivers to bring people, you know, to where you're at.
It's
from
very
the
far
airport.
away, yes.
Yeah, the airport's very far. But I love that because they're not like, you know, they're not Uber drivers.
They're like unemployed loggers and stuff.
No, but they are. And
I know.
I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed having conversations with them. So one of the drivers who picked me up, Jen, she mentioned the big, beautiful bill that just passed. And, you know, I can tell she
Boo!
identifies as Republican, and she wasn't happy with that bill. And I suspected that most ordinary working class Americans, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, are
Bad
not
bill.
happy with that bill.
Yes.
You know, the $1.1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid, that's what she brought up. She brought that up. And I thought that was really fascinating. Now, if you talk to someone who identifies as a liberal Democrat, they'll probably think, oh, these Republican voters, they're so greedy. All they want is tax cuts. They want to cut the social safety net. But no, actually, when it comes to ordinary people, there's a lot of agreement, a lot of agreement. A lot of people are suffering right now. And, you know, you have all these different industries, especially, you know, beginning in the 90s, offshoring, you know, all these jobs that have been destroyed. I mean, most people work in the service sector at this point. And manufacturing jobs are gone. I think that's part of the reason why Donald Trump has been so appealing to the
Purple
MAGA
fish.
base.
Without question.
Right.
Purple
And so
fish.
I want ordinary people to just consider the contradiction here. So if you're a liberal Democrat and you're under the assumption that Republican voters are just greedy and they want to cut the social safety net, why would they love Trump so much, who ran as an economic populist? Now, I don't think that Trump has carried out his promises because of, well, there's a lot of different examples I can cite, but the most recent is the so-called Big Beautiful Bill. Yeah, there are some provisions in there, no tax on tips. It's going to be means tested, and it also expires in 4 years, whereas the tax benefits that disproportionately benefit the wealthy are permanent. The no tax on, the elderly or Social Security, that also will expire, and it's up to a certain amount. I think it's like $6,000 if I'm not mistaken. The child tax credit, I think, was just peanuts compared to what I think this country could afford in helping families. You want to encourage people to have kids?
Yeah.
Okay, best way to do it is to create an economic situation where couples feel comfortable bringing life into this world.
I agree.
And then no tax on overtime. That's another example. That's also means tested, and that's a provision that will expire in 2028. It's just interesting to see which provisions are permanent and which are set to expire in 4 years when, Trump is done with his term. So if you really want to represent the working class, you got to put your money where your mouth is. And I haven't really seen it to the extent that Trump claimed he was going to help the working class in this country.
Good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Here's a revealing and unpleasant fact. Mexico is facing a dangerous outbreak of New World screwworm. Ugh.
Shut up.
Screwworm is
Fuck is a screwworm?
after
I don't think that's a real thing.
So
Truly don't.
when did you meet real values? And it's delicious. So when did
worms?
you
Alright.
have your views changed?
I have
Missed
some
some
views that have
important
definitely changed.
information.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that I swung from far left to far right.
No.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means, actually. I mean, I don't think I can answer the question, so I don't know why I'm asking it of you. But what do the terms mean now? And for whatever it's worth, I've settled on people who are honest, people who lie.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's the only division. Maybe you have the honest party, the liar party, or something, in the future. But clearly you've started thinking things or thinking through things that you hadn't before. And God bless you, that's the greatest privilege of adulthood. You get to think for yourself. It's happened
True.
to me a lot. But how did that start?
Well, I mean, it started with, it started with personal experiences, and it often does, right?
Yeah.
Often your
No
policy
purple fish
preferences
yet.
will slap you in the face, and then you're like, oh, I don't like that,
Right, no, I get
didn't-
it.
Because sometimes there are unintended consequences. I'll give you a specific example. So I was very much supportive of the defund the police movement in 2020. And it was because, you see this video of a man dying on camera with a police officer refusing to ease up on him. And it really made me angry. I felt that it was, whatever you think about George Floyd, I don't care, right? What was happening in that moment, in that video, was so disgusting to me and so unjust. And so I was like, no, I totally bought the narrative that it's not actually about abolishing police. It's about, taking some of that funding and investing in social services or in social workers. So social workers respond to certain calls instead of the police. That actually has ended up being pretty disastrous in California, in Los Angeles in particular, because I've seen it firsthand.
And you're from there.
I'm from there. My best friend since childhood, she's a social worker herself. And I've talked to other social workers about what their experience has been like. And they're like, I actually interviewed one for a piece I wrote for Real Clear Investigations. And she told me, look, it hasn't really worked out the way people have thought it would work out. Oftentimes we'll go to a call and it's supposed to be a nonviolent person, or a nonviolent call. Someone's having a mental health episode. But they'll show up, and oftentimes it'll be someone who does have a weapon. It's not a gun, but it's maybe a knife, and they feel threatened. So
Yeah, I
they
would
have no
think
choice
so.
but to call the police. And so in 2021, the Los Angeles City Council, was inspired by BLM, and they decided to take $150 million away from the LAPD's budget and instead invest it in other services. It actually ended up being even more, we're spending more on police, more on the LAPD than we ever have, like record amounts. And the reason why is because
No one wants
you have
a
to really
job,
ask
so you
yourself
have to pay
before
the
you make
people
these
a lot.
decisions, okay, do we need this many officers? Let's compare Los Angeles to other huge cities. What's the police officer or sworn officer to citizen ratio? And in LA, it's always been historically lower, much lower than other major cities. So at the peak of the LAPD and the number of sworn officers in the LAPD, we had about 10,000. After the cuts and after all the difficulty in recruiting new sworn officers, because people don't want to be police officers anymore for understandable reasons. It's not a desirable job when you have people constantly, talking about how terrible cops are. So now we have about 8,500. And as a result, the remaining sworn officers are working insane overtime, like crazy. Like we have one police officer in the LAPD. I think his name's Nathan Corey. He made $600,000 one year because of police overtime. So right now, taxpayers in Los Angeles.
600,000?
Yes. So right now, taxpayers in LA are kind of confronted with this situation where they're paying far more for less as it pertains to policing. Since there is a shortage, there's longer wait times if you call 911 and you need help. Some people complain that they'll call, and if it's not, like, let's say someone was the victim of a burglary, obviously you're not in imminent danger. So they'll call the cops and hope that someone will show up, take fingerprints and maybe find who burglarized them. They never do, but they don't show up for hours, and people get really upset, and they're like, why is this happening? And what's really interesting is I try to explain why it's happening, and I get called all sorts of names for doing it, but I don't care. The truth is the truth.
Wait, what do you, okay. First of all, why are you one of the only people willing to admit you were wrong about defund the police? Like, why were you willing to say, again, bless you, it's the beginning of growth, but I've done it myself many times, but why were you willing to admit that?
Because at the core of who I am, I think as a journalist, I didn't enter this line of work to be a mouthpiece for anyone. I really care about the truth. And I feel that if you want to live in a democracy, you have to make sure that people are getting accurate information to make the right decisions for themselves once they're casting a ballot.
Right.
Come on.
And so I felt angry because I felt misled by the media.
Yep.
And now, it was partly my fault too, because I was in a bubble and I was only getting one side of every story. And even if I agree with that side, I should at least hear what the opposing argument is. And I wasn't going out of my way to do that before. Now I do. And so I see things as far more complex and nuanced. And it's hard to make an argument that's going to appease any audience at this point, because I think a lot of Americans have been conditioned to be partisan and prioritize partisanship before truth. And I think truth is what will set us free, genuinely. Truth will help us ensure that we have a better government. And I'm sorry, one side or the other does not have a monopoly on the truth. They just don't. And one side might get something right one time, the other side might have a good point when it comes to a different issue. And I think we just need to be open-minded. And more importantly, we need to have conversations with people. Because if you just rely on what the media is saying about a particular political figure or a particular media figure, why are you letting them tell you what to think about individuals? Why don't you actually do a little bit of digging or have these conversations yourself and try to figure out who these people really are? Like the speech you gave at Turning Point, I you said a few things in there that I might not agree with, but like the overall message was so courageous, and I never thought in a million years I would hear it at a conservative conference. Never.
It's just interesting. Well, I mean, the truth is wherever it is, and you try to recognize it. But I hope I'm going to give you my text, and I want you to text me, if you will, criticism of what you're saying now.
Okay.
Because I want to keep a list of people who are offended by what you're saying just in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how could anyone be offended by what you're saying now?
Yeah. Well, it might not be.
I mean, you're not the criminal here.
Yeah. Well, let me just be honest with you. I think that most people who are going to attack me aren't even going to listen to this interview. It's just the fact that we're having a conversation with each other. But I take offense to people trying to police who I can talk to. In fact, the more they try to police me, the more I want to talk to the person they forbid me to speak to. Honestly, I've always been like that. I've been like that since I was a kid. My mom knows it better than anyone. I'm just a little bit rebellious, and I don't like to be told what to do. I hate it.
And what to think.
Yeah.
And who you can talk to. I mean, that's like that's a core decision. Who do I associate with?
Yeah.
Who are my friends? Who am I having dinner with? Who do I marry? I mean, if you allow other people to make those decisions for you, you're not free.
No, you're not. And oh my God, what a terrible career path to be a journalist who doesn't get to have conversations like with people that they're curious. I'm curious about you. I am.
Right.
You were a neocon.
Yeah, I
and
was.
I became.
Hard to believe that.
It is hard to believe that. I became politicized in the lead up to the Iraq invasion in 2003.
Yes.
I was in high school, and I remember in 2002, I went to like a hippie, magnet school, and we had Peace Day annually. And I remember giving a speech in 2002 to make the case against the preemptive war in Iraq. And I remember, you're gonna laugh at this. I remember in English class, we were reading a play, The Glass Menagerie, which I found deeply boring. And I had I had a cutout of a New York Times article in which Bill Kristol was one of the people the reporter interviewed. And, Bill Kristol loves war.
Yeah.
Hardcore neocon. And I just remember just sitting in that English class, reading his quotes and seething over it and thinking to myself, I can't wait to one day get an opportunity to confront him. And I actually did get that opportunity. It wasn't about war, but it was a Politicon panel debate about healthcare. And, I kind of brought up the fact that Israel has universal healthcare and Americans don't.
What did he say?
He was so unprepared. There's a picture of him, he has index cards, someone wrote notes down for him, and he's just fumbling with the index cards. He doesn't know what to do. And then once the whole panel discussion was over, someone who was with me overheard him say, "Damn it, she came prepared." Something along those lines.
Yeah, it's arrogance. It's people who've been told since they were small that they're brilliant. Bill Kristol, Ted Cruz. I mean, it does distort you, and it actually makes you dumb, paradoxically, over time.
Definitely.
Yeah, because you're never pressed.
Gotta stay humble.
I completely agree with
Yeah.
you. It's not hard for me. Given my circumstances. You probably heard about 8 Sleep. Lots of people are talking, and it's that their body change all matter. So, by the way, Just Your America did. D-Buck, we think you'll love it. Tucker. Okay, so I just wanted to emphasize that point. You came to the conclusion that you were wrong, and you said so out loud.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the acid test. Is someone honest? I don't know. Will that person admit being wrong? That's when we know.
Yeah, totally.
And, okay, so you live in the same place. That's also hugely helpful because you can see it over time, the same place.
True.
Ventura Boulevard. You've lived near it your whole life.
Right.
So what did you start to notice? What is it like? What are the effects?
Well, I started noticing that homelessness really exploded in Los Angeles. It's always been a problem in LA.
Yep.
But it now touches every square mile of that county. And it's just gotten, during COVID, it was unbelievably bad. And I just felt like it was inhumane seeing what was going on.
Yes.
And it wasn't just that there were a lot of homeless people. It was that there were a lot of homeless people with severe mental health issues.
Yes.
And they can't make decisions for themselves. They're literally, I can't tell you how many times on my way to work on the freeway, I almost hit a mentally ill homeless person who's on the freeway.
On 405?
Yes. And I can't imagine what I would go through for the rest of my life if I
Yes.
ever hit someone with
Oh,
my car,
gosh.
you know? But
Yeah.
like, why are we living in a society that like thinks that this is okay? This is not okay. This is not okay. The drug addiction, not just in LA, all across the country. Has there been any effort to do anything about this?
Zero.
And it makes me really
The
angry.
Sacklers are still billionaires.
Yep, exactly. And it's just, I find it to be, you want to talk about treason. Politicians who let this kind of stuff happen to the Americans they're supposed to represent, and people mistake that as me being anti-homeless. No. The people who defend what's happening right now, they're anti-homeless. 7 people died of drug overdose on the same corner near where I live in a 2-week span.
That's
7 people.
insane.
Same corner. That wasn't a big scandal. The city council member who represents my district wasn't asked about it. She didn't have to defend herself. She's one of these city council members who keeps voting on the dumbest policies that do nothing to actually help these people, but somehow justifies the continuation of the same failed policies that have led to all of these overdose deaths, all of these people with mental health issues not getting the help that they need. It's awful. The whole situation is awful.
I mean, I lived in LA as a child. I've worked there on and off my whole life. I really love Los Angeles. I'll admit that. I just love it. It's
Purple
just a
fish.
truly American city. The architecture is
It's beautiful.
unique to LA.
We're
It
glitched
was.
out.
It's just an amazing.
Oh, no.
It's
What the
an
fuck?
ambitious, hopeful, affluent country builds when they get to the end of the continent.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, wow, there's nowhere else to. Let's build something amazing. And they built Los Angeles, and I've always loved it in my heart. So I go back there. I'm going back next month, and I'm shocked by it. Like,
Yeah.
I can't even believe it. The encampment
No
outside the
purple
Veterans
fish.
building in Brentwood. I'm like, what is going on here? And no one ever says anything. Well, but I don't live there. You tell me. Do people talk about this a
They
lot?
talk about it privately. But it's really interesting because while there's this openness in regard to the failed policies in private discussions, no one wants to say anything publicly because you'll get the kind of treatment I've gotten.
The people are dying on the street.
Yep.
7 people at one intersection.
Yep.
7 people, Americans, and that's like verboten to talk about? How? Why?
Oh, you're stigmatizing your unhoused neighbors. I can't tell you how many times I've heard
Your
that statement.
unhoused
You're stigmatizing
neighbors.
your unhoused. It's like, no.
They're dead,
I am-
and I feel bad about it.
I'm stigmatizing the very politicians who think that this situation is okay. The same politicians who took our tax dollars, $24 billion worth of California's taxpayer money, okay, squandered it by funneling it to these NGOs and nonprofits that are run by their friends.
Oh, of course.
They fattened up their pockets.
Of course.
They didn't do anything to actually help those people. Nothing.
So when you say that at dinner,
Yeah.
what's that like?
I mean, again, I don't have dinner with idiots, okay? So I'm not going to have dinner with someone who's like, no, I think we should keep stealing money from taxpayers in the highest tax state in the country. No, I'm not interested in that. But when I do have dinner with my friends or with, you know, acquaintances or even like people that I just met, but, you know, for whatever reason our paths crossed and we're having dinner, they all agree with me, you know? Most people agree with me. And I don't think what I'm saying is at all offensive, which is why I keep saying it. I'm not going to stop saying it just because some idiots are going to try to smear me for doing it. No, I don't care. Like, these issues go way beyond me. You get what I'm saying?
Well, not only is it not offensive, it's pro-life in the truest sense. It's pro-human dignity. You don't want 7 people to die in an intersection. You're shocked
Yeah.
and horrified and saddened by it.
Definitely.
And that's not shameful. That's evidence of decency and compassion. I don't understand how that just got inverted.
You know, I don't want to go back to the days where we were criminalizing people who were suffering from drug addiction.
Right?
But what we're doing now is, I think, far worse.
Oh, of course it is.
You know, because at least if someone was using publicly, which by the way, right now happens all the time, you see people, it's really devastating. Like you see people smoking meth publicly. You see people, oh yeah. You see, you know, do you know what the Fentanyl is?
Yeah, I've seen
Yeah,
it.
it's all over Ventura Boulevard at night. And it's, I don't know,
Will
it's
you
like,
describe it for people who don't know what you're talking
it's basically fentanyl, I guess it does something to your body where after you take it, like if you see someone who's literally standing but they're like hunched
Yes.
over, like folded over,
Like a scarecrow.
like,
Yeah.
exactly, they're on fentanyl. That's what fentanyl does to their body. And I never saw that once until recently, and now it's just all over Ventura Boulevard, in the San Fernando Valley at night specifically. You
No
don't see it in the daytime.
purple
And it's the most heartbreaking thing ever. These people they're dying. Very likely they're gonna die.
Someone's child.
Yeah, yeah. And no one cares. No one cares. I can't tell you how many times people just kind of like, you'll see videos of this online. People will have to walk over a guy who looks like he might be dead, sleeping on the sidewalk. You know, like it's made us almost numb because it's so much of our lives now. Like it's a regular occurrence. So when it's a regular occurrence, it becomes normalized. And
It degrades everyone.
exactly. And I'm worried that since it's so normalized, nothing's going to be done about it. And
Yes.
I just find it immoral. And I find that it's wrong. And I'm disgusted with our politicians.
I don't think I could have put it better. Every word you said, I agree with passionately, and I don't know how this wound up a partisan issue at all. And
I think it's because it's the Trump era.
yeah,
Trump offends the sensitivities and sensibilities of self-identified liberal Democrats so much that they think they have to like automatically take the opposite stance of what a conservative would say or what a Trump supporter would say. But that's why I want people to start talking again
yes.
and not make Donald Trump like the nucleus of our politics, because I think that, you know, again, on a lot of the important issues, there's a lot of agreement among voters. They just have to allow themselves to think for themselves.
No
Obviously,
purple
the most important- I
fish.
mean, if you've
Yeah.
got 7 people dying in one intersection in Los Angeles, you're not going to tell me that Iran is a greater threat to my country than that. I
Exactly.
can't think of a greater threat to my country than that.
I
actually.
agree.
And I don't have any idea
Striking
why it's
Iran was the
partisan.
craziest fucking thing.
I'm
in
interested
the
in
world.
the governor. I know the governor of the state. He's got some. I know Gavin Newsom. He's got some talent, I think, and charming for sure. But like, what is going on? Is he aware of that? I've asked him, and I
You,
can't get
you really find him charming?
well, in a kind of reptilian way. I mean, charming in the sense that his whole life is devoted to winning people over.
Yes, yeah,
Kind
yeah.
of like Bill Clinton was, and I think he's good at it. But I also think someone said to me the other day, Newsom could pass a lie detector test on saying anything. Like there's a coldness inside that
He's a
allows.
sociopath. I think
That's
he's
kind of
a
the word.
snake oil salesman. I think he's a
Snake
liar,
oil salesman.
and I think that he destroyed the state of California. Full stop.
He did.
I've got no love for Gavin Newsom. I think that people tend to fall for appearances, and for whatever reason, people think that he's attractive or something. I don't find him attractive because I know who he is and what he's done. He has shafted Californians who have lost everything in wildfires. The fire in Paradise, California was absolutely devastating. An entire community burnt down as the result of PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric, that's the utility company, refusing to upgrade their
Come on,
aging
fucking shine.
equipment. Their equipment is over 100 years old. And so what started that fire was this metal hook that had eroded to the point where it broke. Power lines come crashing down onto dry brush. It sparks a fire and destroys an entire community. Okay. So you would want PG&E to suffer some consequences for that, right?
I think.
Well, Newsom bailed him out because it's one of his biggest donors. He recently, in an interview, I can't remember, he's been doing these like podcast interviews to kind of rebrand himself as
I've
like
noticed,
some sort of
yeah.
common sense guy.
I've turned it down.
Yeah, don't fall for it
I'm
because
not.
it's total BS. But, you know, he said something along the lines of, oh, you know, I take personal accountability. I made a big mistake by getting caught. You know, I was at the French Laundry. It's like some ritzy, fancy restaurant during COVID after I told Californians, you know, don't get together with family members during the holidays. It's very dangerous, whatever. He said that he was having dinner with friends. It was his friend's birthday. No. He was having dinner with his donors. So even in the context where he's pretending to take accountability, he's lying straight to everyone's face. And I can't stand it. I really can't. I want real authenticity. I want real accountability.
I think I'm in love with this girl.
Politicians who are willing to see that the policies they advocated for aren't working quite as they intended, and they're willing to recalibrate, admit that maybe they got something wrong.
Of course.
I want humility. I want this country to improve for the people in this country. And unless we are willing to be honest, unless we're willing to tell the people trying to smear us, to silence us, that they can F off, nothing's going to improve. Everything's going to keep going down. Everything is going to continue devolving. In my lifetime, this country has only gotten worse, not better. And it's going to keep going in that direction. And I want that paradigm to shift. I want it to change.
Why do people disagree with that, do you think?
I don't know. I think there's something psychological about it. I think that we've been conditioned to think of politics as black and white, good and bad, but I think it's more complicated than that. I think most Americans are good people who want good things for everyone, but I think the media kind of conditions us to hate the other side, whatever the other side really is, you know? I certainly had those feelings, and things are different today compared to when I became politicized during the Bush era.
Yes.
I feel like during the Bush era, it was a little easier to see good and bad, right? So for instance, even among Republican voters, I think people had woken up to the fact that the neoconservatives had dragged us into wars that we shouldn't have been fighting. That a lot of people, Americans and civilians in these countries we were invading, were suffering as a result of this ideology. But things have gotten a little more fractured, I think, within the parties.
Ooh,
There's
he
like
does not
multiple
want
parties,
to shine.
You get what I'm saying?
I do.
But when it comes to the two establishments, the Democratic establishment, the Republican
Been
establishment,
hunting him for
there's a lot of
a little over
similarities
40
between
minutes.
the two.
They're in alignment.
Exactly. On the big issues that matter.
War and the economy.
War
are
and the
two
economy.
biggest issues.
100%. They love to like distract
I
us
just
with
called a
shiny
shiny
Yeah, have a
Deoxys.
race war.
It's a
Totally
really
100%.
cool shiny.
Yeah, yeah.
all these like social issues. By the
And
way,
about
social issues are
soy
important. I'm not
fucking
minimizing that.
shine,
But
you
the
little
way
butt.
that they're framed by the establishment, I think, is interesting because it's intentionally meant to get us to fight each other constantly
Of course.
instead of considering what the big issues are.
Don't worry about the homeless,
and
go
how we
fight a
might
race war.
actually agree on those big issues, what we can do to work together to, again, apply pressure to politicians to demand that they represent us instead of their donors, instead of moneyed interests, instead of a foreign government. So I think people are waking up.
How
for
do
the
we
first
get
time.
money
I'm a
out of
little bit
politics?
excited because
Is that even possible?
you know, the kind of speech that you gave wouldn't have happened 5 years ago.
No,
10
that's,
years ago.
No, I think that's right, and I wouldn't have. Though I'm just struck by how normal and non-threatening and non-hateful and just basic most people's views are, including mine. I don't have any complicated views about anything. I'm not a very deep person at all, and I don't know why we've always.
You think aliens
internalized
are
the
angels
shame
and demons? I feel like
that,
that's
some things must
a fairly
not be said. And it's
complex
like,
point
why?
of view.
I don't hate anybody, and in fact, I'm on guard against that. I refuse to because of my.
Heard
religious
about
beliefs.
that.
It's like I'm not hating anybody, period. But I'm also not going to be shamed into like.
I want
ignoring
a purple
obvious stuff.
fish.
None of us is paying very close attention during the summer. The news cycle calms down, families travel, people are relaxed. You're at the beach. It's all great, except the people in Washington never
Yeah, she has a
stop.
lot of advertisements.
People slap that off.
Can I ask you something
Yeah,
about
of
real quick?
course.
So I heard that speech, and by the time I finished listening to it, I thought to myself, he's going to run for president. That was a presidential speech.
Really?
Yeah.
No, that's literally the last thing on my mind. Like, I
Really?
would never do that. No, I mean, unless I was like told by a higher power or something. But no, I don't think I'm suited for that. Of course, I don't want that. I have a lot of happiness and balance in my life. I have a huge family. I'm the oldest male in that family, so I feel like I have a lot of things I'm paying attention to. I have dogs who I really love. So no, like nothing
I have
about
dogs
that is
that I
appealing
really
at
love.
all. And I've never had
What a
any political
reason.
ambition of any kind. and I have even less now. I mean, I've known a lot of people who've had that job, and
Purple face! No!
it's really hard.
Oh, I would never want it. I would never want it. Are you kidding me?
And also the idea that, like, out of 350 million people, I'm the most qualified to lead.
Well, there's plenty of people who think that.
I don't think that.
Yeah, no, and I mean think that about themselves,
I
obviously.
do not think that.
Yeah, like Ted Cruz thinks
Purple
that.
fish, purple fish,
exactly.
purple
Yeah.
fish,
And it's just sad, and
fish,
they're
purple
compensating
fucking
for something, some of them, I
fish.
guess. I'm not going to be mean, but
Purple fucking fish.
I'm not compensating for
Purple
it, so
fish?
Yeah.
I have no interest. But here's my question. So you said the media are a huge part of this, which is undoubtedly true. I've been in the media for 35 years. I know everyone in the media pretty much. There's some, mostly they're not evil. They're just kind of dumb, okay? So there are some evil people. I could name them, like Joe Scarborough or something, you know, who's like obviously really bad. But most people are not. But they go along with this, and the question is why? And one of the reasons is because they don't want to alienate their audiences. You are on one of the biggest, maybe the biggest, certainly one of the biggest liberal podcasts, progressive podcasts, The Young Turks. You've been there for almost 20 years. I was amazed to find that out last night at dinner.
Yeah.
18 years.
18 years.
I don't know
I'll
how
love
old
you
are, but I'm
forever.
shocked by that. But
I would
and it's one of the
give
biggest,
my
and you're
right,
one of the
maybe
biggest.
left testicle,
And maybe our audience doesn't know this because they don't
just to
watch
hold
liberal
your
podcasts, but
hand.
You're one of the biggest. So you start saying stuff like this, you're gonna like
Yeah.
lose audience, you're gonna lose money, like actual money.
Yep.
Has that happened? Do you worry about that happening?
Yeah, that's happened. Let me just say that for whatever anyone might think about Cenk Uygur, who's the founder and CEO of the Young Turks, you know, he's a very, like, he's sometimes brash,
Yeah.
combative, loud, and that turns people off. And I get that. They might not agree with his politics, but I just want to talk about who he is as a person, because if it weren't for Cenk, I wouldn't have the confidence to publicly admit I'm wrong, or the confidence to be genuine and honest about what I really think. Because he provides a platform for you to actually say what you think and not get punished for it if it hurts the business. And it did hurt the business.
Wow.
Yeah. So we lost a portion of our audience for sure.
Based on what you said?
Based on what I said, and more
What did you
importantly,
say that alienated people?
I mean, okay, I would say that the straw that broke the camel's back was I agreed to go talk to Glenn Beck. He invited me to go on his podcast. You know, I obviously have disagreements with Glenn Beck, but I was actually shocked at how much we agreed on. You know,
Yes.
we talked about war, we talked about all sorts of things, and there were areas of agreement. It was a pleasant conversation, but I didn't capitulate my values at all. Just because I'm talking to him doesn't mean I've done anything wrong. My views are my views, his views are his views. We had a conversation. Well, I come home thinking nothing of it. And one of our employees, someone who's a contributor to TYT, or was a contributor to TYT, decided to take that as an opportunity to make a big spectacle about the fact that he's quitting because I decided to speak to Glenn Beck, who's like a threat to black bodies or something. I don't know. But it was.
Is Glenn Beck a threat to black bodies?
I have no idea. Is he? I mean, I didn't get that. I don't think Glenn Beck's much of a threat to anyone, to be honest with you. He might have some ideas people don't like, but okay.
But it was nothing that you specifically said. It
No.
wasn't like,
No,
Oh,
nothing.
interesting.
Nothing that I said. I mean, no one was citing anything I said during that interview that upset them, that was so offensive that it was worthy of like publicly condemning me and making a big spectacle about how
Purple
I
fish.
can't work here because of Anna, and she spoke to this dangerous man.
did Beck say anything like so over the top that you were supposed to respond to it or something?
No. I mean, Glenn Beck.
It's a pretty
He's-
moderate guy, actually.
He might have some views that aren't moderate, but we didn't talk about any of those things. Like, the conversation was really not offensive at all, in my opinion. And
But they didn't cite anything. He didn't
No,
like
it
endorse
was-
Hitler or anything.
it was just the fact that I spoke to him. But, you know,
Wow.
unfortunately, you know, when you have someone make a public spectacle about quitting and making it seem as though I'd done something so wrong, it signaled to a portion of our audience like, oh, maybe Anna isn't who she says she is. Maybe Anna is
I have
like
to go
a
to the bathroom.
secret, like, far right winger or a Nazi or I don't know.
How long had you been at the show at this point?
17 and a half years.
BRB.
I'm back.
It wasn't
So
too
that's
long
deep
ago.
cover. So you've
Yeah.
been a secret
The
Nazi for
headphone.
17 and a half years.
Yeah, I'm really good at.
You're
I'm really
playing
good
the
at what I
long
do.
game, baby.
Yeah. But
So I'm sorry to laugh.
let me just say this. I started working, as you mentioned, I've been there for 18 years. Started working there in 2007. Okay. When TYT was basically a startup that no one knew about, the revenue for TYT at the time came from Air America. Air America had gone bankrupt a few months after I started working for them. And Cenk Uygur is amazing because he's like, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to find a way to keep this company afloat. And he did, to his credit. But I can't even explain to you how much of a grind it was building TYT. It was a grind. Long hours, like blood, sweat, and tears, but we believed in it and we loved it. And I actually have like great memories of those years. We barely made any money at all, but we believed in what we were doing, and there was something really exciting about that. I went through all that. I helped build what TYT is today, and the audacity of anyone coming in as a contributor or anything else to tell me who I can and can't talk to that's offensive. That's offensive. Okay, I earned this. You're not going to come into my house and tell me what my beliefs should be, who I should talk to. F off.
Let him
Good
know,
riddance.
girl.
Go. I'm not going to be censored by anyone. Not my audience, no one on the right. I don't care. I don't care.
So sometimes when people sell products on TV, I love this product, I use this product, there's the question in the mind of the viewer, has to have felt the plot with having it.
I have a nephew who loves you, and he's always, "Oh, Tucker, you gotta interview this chick. She's amazing." And I'm so glad. Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah.
It just makes me laugh. I mean, I love what you're saying, of course. But you also are making a point about the guy you work with, who started the company, owns the company, who even after some of your audience bolted over this, he didn't call you in and say, "Knock it off"?
No, never. That's not who Cenk is. And by the way, I mean, he's had hosts on our network who he vehemently disagrees with. And he's had other hosts come in and like demand that those hosts get fired because of what they're saying. Oh, it's offensive. And Cenk's like, no, we don't do that here. And I think what informs Cenk's behavior, honestly, is the fact that at one time he was a self-identified Republican. This is when he was in college and stuff.
Yes.
And he and I have like a lot of these heart-to-hearts because I have these days when I am down about everything that's transpired because I do feel like it's unfair to paint me in a certain light just because you don't like the people I'm talking to. But whenever I need like a little bit of a pep talk, he'll mention what it was like as a college Republican. And he's like, "Anna, it was unbearable because they wouldn't let me talk in class. Like they would do everything possible to prevent me from being able to speak."
Who's they?
Like other students
Purple!
or professors who didn't like his point of view.
Okay, liberals.
Yeah, liberals, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that really, really frustrated him. And so now, as the CEO of the Young Turks, he's not going to turn around and censor other hosts because he disagrees with them.
A lot of people do, though.
A lot of people do, but to his credit, he doesn't. And that's why I've been there for 18 years. There have been other opportunities to make I love when people call me a grifter. I could have been a millionaire by now. I'm not a millionaire because I want to speak my mind, and TYT has been the only place that's allowed me to do it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I don't think, I mean, most people don't host shows, so they don't know the feeling. I have hosted shows, so I do know the feeling. If your audience starts to move out from under you, boy, that is, because that's your strength, that's your core, that's your revenue, of course, but more than that, that's your moral backing. Like you know, they may not like what I'm saying, but my people do. My audience does. And so if they bolt in meaningful numbers,
I want my
boy,
purple
there's
cow.
nothing scarier. I mean, I get it.
Yeah, it is scary. I'm not going to lie about that. I mean, being scared didn't deter me, but I was more concerned about what it was going to do to the company overall, because if things were bad enough and we didn't have enough revenue to keep every employee, people were going to get fired or laid off. And I would really struggle with the guilt. I would feel responsible for that. And so I'm glad that that didn't happen. And we're rebuilding. And it's a dream come true for me because I want to build an audience of open-minded people who aren't going to like run for the hills the second they hear a point that they disagree with.
Or that they haven't heard before.
Or that they haven't heard before, exactly, yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of that where if you get past the initial shock, like you'll say something, be like, well, first of all, you're not allowed to say that. Second, I've never heard anybody say that. And I kind of hate you for saying something new. But I do think that wears off after a moment. And people are like, well, actually, is that crazy? Is that hateful? I don't think it is. And you can kind of convince them after that.
You have a decision to make. You can either build a niche audience, and I think that's the worst option because a niche audience wants to be catered to, and you have to be very careful to follow a very specific script. I'm not interested in that. And I think that I personally went through an era of being a little bit radicalized on the left, and I regret that because I unwittingly did build a bit of a niche audience. But those folks...
What do you mean radicalized?
I totally bought the narrative that like everyone on the right's racist, everyone on the right is greedy, that kind of stuff.
So Trump term 1, when everyone just got hysterical about Trump.
Yes.
Yeah, I get it.
That was the era that I'm not proud of. And I was basically building my own prison and I didn't realize it. And what I mean by that is once you have a niche audience, you're not allowed to deviate from a very specific and narrow ideology. And I don't want that. I'm not an ideologue. I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. I'm willing to recalibrate on policy if I see it implemented and it's not working correctly. I ultimately just want truth. I want justice, and I want a country that represents its people. That's what I want. That's my core.
Do you feel like it is bridgeable? Like there's so much anger. Like, and by the way, I do think the immigration thing and the crime thing sort of obscure it. Like the real fight is between educated whites. Like they're the ones who really hate each other.
Really?
I think that.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I think it's, I mean, I just know from my own experience, I often say this, but, they called me a racist for many, many years. And I would always say, if I was racist, I would just admit it because, like, there are worse things. But I'm not. And I would get so hassled, always by the same demographic. And I would always say to my wife, no black person's ever yelled at me. In fact, I've been hugged by a lot of black people. It's just a fact. I'm sorry, it's just true. And they don't seem to think I'm a racist, but it's always middle-aged white women who are yelling at me at Logan Airport. And what is that? No, I'm not whining. I mean, I don't really care, but it's just interesting. And so I think it's almost like fratricidal. It's like professional class whites who read the New Yorker, read the New York Times, like they're truly angry at each other.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've just noticed this.
Yeah, I mean, it's propaganda and this thought that certain things are way worse than they really are, or that like their perceived threats, I think, aren't real to the extent that they think it's real. And by speaking out and by confronting you and by, doing what you're referring to, I think they get a sense of I'm doing something about it.
Right. No, I get it. No, I'm not even attacking them. It's just interesting to me. Because it's clear, it's totally real in their minds.
It is, of course.
It's not just performative. It's like I felt rage before. So, and as you so eloquently described, like that rage obscures, and I think maybe it's designed to obscure the reality of like physical degradation all around us.
All around us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and I think that is kind of the point. I think it is to some extent intentional. But what, since you do live in that world and have for so long, as rationally as you can, clinically as you can you explain what they're worried about?
Well, I mean, I think that their heart is in the right place.
Yeah. I'm giving them the presumption of good faith, for sure.
Yeah.
I just want to know, like, when some rich lady yells at me in the ski lift line, she thinks I'm racist. I know they always say that. But
Yeah.
then there's also like there's a fascist takeover imminent. Is that part of it? Or what is the worry?
Well, I mean, okay, let's talk about the fascist takeover because there is a part of me that's a little bit worried about that,
I
to
am
be
too.
honest.
I
Okay.
am too.
Okay, so
Not just part of me,
Yeah.
a lot of me.
and look, I don't know what's in those women's heads, so I just don't understand them. So I feel weird talking about what they're thinking and
Every
what motivates
person
them.
should be worried about the centralization of power and the use of technology to strip basic rights from citizens.
Yeah, like
Everybody.
like the Palantir stuff concerns me a little bit. You know?
Anytime, I mean, the technology, not just Palantir, but all the emerging technology, supercomputing, AI, all of this stuff,
Yep.
facial recognition, like it could be used to enslave the population
Totally.
really easily.
Totally. Yeah.
So I don't know why. I mean, everyone should be freaked out about
Be
that.
worried about that, definitely. I'm also a little bit worried about, and I don't know how large this group of people in America happens to be, but you're hearing from them more and more. This idea that no, we need to move toward a post-liberal and like post-liberal democracy. You know what I'm saying? Like a rejection of the democratic process overall. Like Curtis Yarvin is one of the
Yes.
figures who's been kind of preaching about this. He sounds really dumb, so I don't know how seriously people really take him. But he purports to want a monarchy in this country, which sounds insane.
I'm opposed to monarchy, and the truth, however, is that the trends you're describing have totally discredited liberal democracy. That's my fear, and I think maybe it's intentional.
Oh,
Make
for sure
things
it's intentional.
So chaotic
Yeah.
that we beg for a dictator. I kind of feel like that's happening.
I hope people aren't begging for a dictator because you don't like the fact that the government isn't really representing your interests right now. Get a load of what it's going to be like to live under a dictator where you have no say at
Right?
all.
No, I'm talking more about like quality of life questions. Like
Yeah.
if there are home invasions going on and the homeowner doesn't have any expectation the cops are going to save him, that kind of stuff, that's not theoretical. That's like, that induces panic.
True. Yeah.
It makes me uncomfortable even thinking about it. You know? So if you have a lot more of that, people will be like, I don't really give a shit about voting. What I care about is my kids not being killed.
Yeah. Actually, you make a really good point, which is why it's so important for Americans who value liberal democracy to really start thinking seriously
Right.
about saving it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I want.
But don't you feel like when people are under, like if you were on a plane flying across the Pacific that dropped 20,000 feet in a minute, and you're saying your prayers, maybe you're an atheist, you're just saying prayers anyway, couldn't control yourself, and what would you be willing to do or give up in exchange for not dying? In other words, if you're totally panicked, you're in free fall in a commercial airliner, God, I will do anything. Like that's kind of what is happening with crime, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And not just crime.
Not just crime.
Yeah, I mean, so many issues. It is a problem when most Americans agree on something and our politicians know it, but they do the opposite anyway. And I've been increasingly angry with the fact that, you know, I feel that the interests of Americans and how they feel about going to war with Iran, for instance, right? Most Americans do not want to go to war with Iran. And it didn't matter. Okay, the United States bombed Iran's nuclear sites on behalf of Israel anyway, which could have led to a full-blown hot war. It didn't because of Iran having restraint, but we're not done yet. And
But
so
don't you feel ashamed that it didn't lead to nuclear war? This is the new line.
I know.
You are wrong. You're an idiot.
that's, by the way, that line is
How
stupid.
dare you worry about that?
Yeah, we're not. By the way, it's not over yet, and they don't get too cocky. For the people making that point, don't get too cocky.
But why is it shameful to worry about a nuclear war or worry about a World War III? Why is that? It's being held up by the normal tiny brain people as like, you know, evidence that you're just a ridiculous person. Your prediction was wrong.
Right. Well, I
We
mean,
didn't have a nuclear war. Shut up.
well, maybe those folks have a point. Maybe we're the baddies. Okay. Maybe we should be more concerned about profits for, you know, bomb makers and weapons manufacturers and private contractors and the mercenaries that are currently working over in Gaza to shoot and kill people as they're waiting for humanitarian aid.
So how does that, it does feel like I've spent 35 years not talking about that topic because, one, I don't really have, on a native level, like super strong views about it. It's not my country. I wish everyone well in every country, and I mean that. However, it just got so in my face that I had to like say 4 things about it, for which I've been spent the rest of my life trying to deal with that, the effects of being called those names. But I feel like all of a sudden, like people you would not expect to weigh in on this, like, actually, this is too much.
Yeah, and I love it. I'm glad that that's happening, and I
Do
hope
you feel that there's been a change?
I do feel it. I mean, definitely. If it were the Bush years and this whole scenario were playing out during those years, the kinds of things I've been hearing people say publicly, I would not have heard. But I think what's happening this time around is you really can't deny what you're seeing on the ground in Gaza. You can't deny what's happening in the West Bank, you know, not just in regard to Palestinians, Palestinian Muslims, but also Palestinian Christians. You can't deny the fact that that one and only Catholic church in Gaza was bombed, you know, was attacked. You can't deny the fact that churches have been targeted in the West Bank as well. Like, it's, people can lie to us as much as they want, but the videos are out there.
How do you blow up a church if you've got munitions, laser-guided munitions that are so sophisticated that they can take out, you know, a guy in an SUV from 30,000 feet? How do you blow up a church with a giant cross on top of it?
It was just an accident, Tucker. It was an accident.
Like it's not the first church.
No, it's not. And it wasn't an accident. It wasn't an accident.
But what is the answer? Can anyone get an answer?
I know
Why
the answer.
are they doing
Israel
that?
wants a Jewish state, and they want to expand. They have something known as the Greater Israel Project. They intend to annex the whole of the West Bank. In fact, Miriam Adelson legally bribed Donald Trump to ensure that that happens. And Israel announced that's what they're going to do, and they're doing it. When it comes to Gaza, I mean, Hamas is so dumb because the atrocities they committed on October 7th gave Netanyahu and the Israeli government the perfect excuse to essentially do what they've always wanted to do, which is take that land. They're going to take that land. That's what they want. They're going to ethnically cleanse whatever remains of the Palestinian people. They're going to force neighboring countries probably to absorb 2 million people. And then at the same time, they're going to have settlers move on in, rebuild Gaza. Jared Kushner, by the way, soon after October 7th happened, was like salivating on camera about how that's prime real estate. It's disgusting. But anyway,
how can you
pretty fucking
move
gross.
2 million people right now?
Well, there was a story published this week, I believe it was in the New York Times, where Netanyahu and the Israeli government was in talks with our government in regard to getting aid from the United States in moving Palestinians out of Gaza.
Great.
So when they bomb the church, it's because they don't want the church. That land is supposed to be part of the Jewish
You're not
state.
allowed to use my tax dollars to bomb churches.
Well, that's what they're doing.
I'll put up with a lot of stuff, but I think that's, and I've said this 100 times, let me say it again. I don't understand how any Christian leader in the United States can sit by and not say something
Where's
about
my
that.
purple
And Mike
fish?
Huckabee, who has been a pretty slavish, devotee of the state of Israel, and I don't mean that as a compliment. He's a very nice man, but I disagree with him strongly. Even Mike Huckabee came out and said, whoa.
Tell you what.
Yeah.
You can't kill Christians.
And American citizens.
yes.
And American
Hulk
citizens.
Hogan
And I
had a
don't
heart
understand
attack.
why that's not. I mean, if
That's
that's not
how
a
he
red
died.
line, then
I
there's
just
no
saw
red
it.
line.
I mean, I think it should definitely be a red line, but let me just say, Mike Huckabee made a statement, and that's nice. It's more than Biden was willing to do.
No purple
Talk
fish
cheap.
for me.
Are you going to cut funding? Are you going to stop sending over the 2,000-pound bombs that are destroying
Nope.
people's homes, universities, churches, refugee camps, hospitals? I mean, Gaza's leveled. Deir al-Balah is like the last remaining portion of Gaza that still has some structures that people can live in. And they're currently doing a ground invasion there. They got to destroy it, of course. I mean, it's so obvious what's happening, and it's so unjust. And this is the area where, what democracy? I have no power. The government's going to take part of my earnings that I worked really hard for, not to help my fellow American citizens who might need health care, who might have fallen on hard times and can't feed their families and need help with food assistance. It's not going to go to them. It's going to go toward the bombs that are terrorizing people in Gaza, the West
maybe I
Bank.
should
By the way,
do
it's
this
going to
right now.
expand further than that. I mean, they've already annexed part of Syria. The Syria war that.
Yeah, they bombed
proxy
Syria
war.
like last week.
It was a proxy war for a reason. Turkey wanted to have influence and control over the area where the Kurds are at. Obviously, Israel wanted to annex portions of it, and they've been doing it ever since Assad fell.
Really close friend of mine is
And
Syrian.
you have
His
a former
dad
Al-Qaeda leader as
is an
the
immigrant
current leader
from
of Syria, who's
Syria.
trying to capitulate to Israel, but obviously it's not good enough because Israel's still bombing the crap
They were
out of
like
Syria.
really excited
It's
about
unbelievable. I have no ability
all
to
the
change
potential.
it. It seems like
And
the
then Israel
electorate in
bombed
this
them
country
last
have
week.
no ability to change it because it doesn't matter which party you vote for, whether it's a Democratic presidential candidate or a Republican presidential candidate. They're going to get elected and they're going to get dog-walked by whoever the prime minister of Israel is at the time.
How do we wind up supporting an Al-Qaeda leader? I thought we were anti-Al-Qaeda.
I thought so too. I don't know. It makes no sense to me. But I mean, this is seen throughout American history in regard to our foreign policy. I mean, we will fund the Taliban, we'll give them weapons to fight, the communists. We want to avoid communism. And then we turn on them, for obvious reasons after what happened on 9/11. But I mean, I think it's not.
But we were told 9/11 was done by Al-Qaeda, so we've got to be pretty. I mean, that wasn't that long ago. We've got to be pretty anti-Al-Qaeda because, like, if they actually killed 3,000 Americans on 9/11, which everyone says they did, and I'm willing to believe that, then how in the world
my dad thinks
do we
that
let any
our
Al-Qaeda
government did
even
9/11.
exist?
Wouldn't you venture
that's
to
a
say
scary thought.
It's required to ask these questions if you want to be a journalist?
I would say, and I would also say, the Syria situation, I was always opposed to what we were doing in Syria. I understood exactly why we were doing it. We ended up killing or abetting in the murder of an awful lot of religious minorities, Alawites, a lot of Christians, destroying the country. And,
Shine.
I was
Purple.
attacked for,
No!
You're an Assad apologist or whatever.
Nothing
about Assad.
So are they Al-Qaeda apologists?
Well, that's the thing, and we've
Probably.
gotten to a place now
Shut
where
up.
it's really clear that the 3,000 American lives they say were lost on September 11th due to Al-Qaeda are less important than whatever political or geopolitical consideration
Correct.
is driving our Syria policy.
Yeah, and it makes me sick.
So that's that's treason, of course.
Of course.
But it's more than that. That's like a profound moral crime, and it's also a
Undoubtedly.
middle finger in the face of every American.
Definitely. Yeah.
If there's one thing we could expect our foreign policy would stay consistent on is we're anti-Al-Qaeda because they killed 3,000 Americans.
Yeah, but I do understand our foreign policy and what drives our foreign policy, and it's a black pill for sure.
So I'm not just asking this because you have an Armenian last name, which you do,
I do.
but and I think you're Armenian. That's why you have an Armenian last name. But because you did a segment on this.
Mm-hmm.
What is going on between Armenia, big
Does that mean
picture,
you're single?
and Azerbaijan?
Well, there was about 4 years ago, there was a pretty brutal war. Azerbaijan attacked the Armenians who were living in this area known as Nagorno-Karabakh. Armenians call it Artsakh. And historically, Armenians have had roots there. There are ancient churches, Armenian churches there. And that land, if you look at a map of where Nagorno-Karabakh is, it's like in the middle of Azerbaijan. Not exactly in the middle, but it's basically like, let's say here's Azerbaijan, like circle, and it's like kind of off to one side, Nagorno-Karabakh is. And the reason that land was, well, the whole of Azerbaijan was controlled by the Soviets, right? But during that time, Stalin essentially gave the land that makes up Nagorno-Karabakh to Azerbaijan, like promised that land to them, even though that area was populated by ethnic Armenians. And he did that. I mean, Stalin was evil in a lot of ways, but he was also very smart, which is the most dangerous combination.
Very smart.
Yeah. And so he wanted both the Azeris and the Armenians to be dependent on the Soviet Union. And the way to do that is to put the ethnic Armenians smack dab in the middle of, Azerbaijan. And so
Azerbaijan.
because, throughout history, Armenians went to war with the Azeris in regard to controlling that land.
I'm back.
Because most of the people there were Armenian, they wanted to control that land. And so what happened 4 years ago in 2020 is Azerbaijan's like,
Azerbaijan.
we want the Armenians out, we want to take over the land, and they went to war. Armenia is a tiny country. Russia has provided security guarantees to Armenia in the past,
He's
but
gonna shine
unfortunately in
soon, I
this
have a
case,
feeling.
Russia didn't come to the defense
Oh,
of
no.
ethnic Armenians.
He didn't shine.
They said that the, security guarantees had to do with Armenia and not Nagorno-Karabakh. So a lot of Armenians
Karabakh.
died. A lot of churches,
Karabakh.
ancient churches, were absolutely destroyed and bombed. And the Azeris engaged in the ethnic cleansing of ethnic Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh. They were forced out. They were
Nagorno-Karabakh.
killed. And some of them ended up in Armenia.
Oh, it
And
wasn't-
Armenia, of course, is going to take
It
them in.
wasn't so
It's been really difficult
purple.
because Armenia is a tiny country. It's a, developing country. It's landlocked and it's
Purple
surrounded by enemies.
rain.
And historically has been victimized by
Purple
Turkey through the Armenian
rain.
genocide. I mean, it's been
Chocolate
pretty
rain.
devastating, and it's.
Some stay
I've been
dry
very
while
vocal about
others
what's been
feel the
happening in
pain.
Gaza,
Chocolate
and
rain.
Armenians have been very proud of me for that. But a few have been like, why don't you speak up about Nagorno-Karabakh? I did actually at the time, but it happened 4 years ago.
But why aren't the preachers talking about it? So churches were blown up?
Yeah, and by the way, I mean, religious leaders have been, but American media doesn't care about it. I mean, America doesn't care about Armenia at all.
Oh, I get it. It's
Yeah.
a small country, but the Armenians were
Chocolate
persecuted
rain.
precisely because they were Christians. That's my read. I mean, there's no,
Yeah, they were the minority, the religious
Of course,
minority.
the religious minority at the very end of the Ottoman Empire, end of the First World War, and they were murdered in enormous numbers by the Ottomans, using the Kurds, I think,
Right.
for a lot of it. And the Kurds, we love the Kurds. But I don't understand. I just see this theme. You may disagree with this, but I see a global theme where the most peaceful religion in the world is taking the most abuse and there's the most murder
Yeah.
of Christians. I don't quite know what that is.
Demonic.
And I just am amazed that nobody says.
Let him know,
anything
Tucker.
in the United
Call out the
States.
demonics.
Yeah, I mean, Armenians don't have a powerful lobby that can bribe our politicians to care about them. So what's really depressing, though, is, we provide a lot of the weapons that Israel has. And Israel sold weapons to Azerbaijan to carry out the ethnic cleansing
Some
of
stay
ethnic
dry
Armenians from
while others
Nagorno-Karabakh.
What?
feel
Yep.
the pain. Chocolate
Yep.
Is that
rain.
confirmed?
Yes, it's confirmed.
Shine
It's
this
absolutely
fucking
confirmed.
purple
Israel
fish.
sold weapons to
Chocolate
Azerbaijan
rain.
to kill the Christians.
Purple!
Yeah, that's exactly right.
No!
You're sure?
Yeah, anyone can look it up. And look, if I'm ever wrong, I will admit it. But this is something I've researched deeply. Where did Azerbaijan get its weapons from? There have been rumors that they also were sold weapons from Russia, but there was less confirmation on that. But in regard to Israel, it's very clear and it's documented. Yeah.
I'm in love with this
I
lady.
sense a theme. And I have a right to sense that theme because I'm a Christian and I'm not going to cede that right. Sorry. So the Armenians were murdered by the millions at the end of the First World War. But they weren't all killed. Where did they go?
So, thank you for asking me these questions. I really appreciate it because there's a lot that I want to say about it. So the Armenian genocide was
Purple?
perpetrated
No
by
purple.
offshoots of an organization of it's a
Chocolate
group that basically
rain.
rebelled against the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire had already been persecuting Armenians. There was the Adana massacres.
Ottoman Empire,
massacres
you're
had
going
been
back
happening at the
deep.
hands of the Ottoman Turks. Now, a group rose up to rebel against the Ottoman Empire, and
Ottoman
those
Empire.
individuals were known as the Young Turks. We are not named after those people. Young Turks in American context means something entirely different. It means someone who rebels against societal expectations or the establishment. And that's what we do at our show. So that's why Cenk named it that. I kind of wish he didn't because it gets confused all the time. But nonetheless,
It's kind of funny that there's a Turk and an Armenian hosting the show.
and by the way, we talk about the Armenian genocide on the show all the time. He's Turkish and he grew up in a certain context where you only get one side of the story.
Of course, yeah, we all have grown up in a certain.
Exactly. But to his credit, I mean, through our very difficult conversations at times, through our debates, he eventually realized, oh my God, I was totally brainwashed. The Armenian genocide is totally real. And we talk about it all the time on the show. And that's like probably one of my proudest
I
accomplishments.
just want a
because
purple fish.
I could have turned my back on him, made him out to just be a terrible person who's unworthy of me even like talking to him. But instead, I made a decision to try to convince him, to persuade him. And it took a while, but it worked. And to me,
Purple fish.
seeing the humanity in someone
Purple?
who has like a fundamental disagreement that enrages me, I think that probably out of all the qualities that make me human, I think that's my best quality, my willingness to try to persuade before I write someone off as unworthy.
That's a very good quality.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry. So the Young Turks rose up to... And the whole thing about the Young Turks was they didn't like the way Armenians were being persecuted. They wanted to provide rights to Armenians. And you can look this up. It's in the history, right? But there was an offshoot of the Young Turks called the Committee of Unity and Progress. And they're the ones who perpetrated the Armenian genocide. Okay? So that's how it happened. 1.5 million Armenians were slaughtered. There were a lot more Armenians who were forced to march through the desert to Syria. My father was actually born in Damascus.
Your father?
My father, yeah. He was born in Damascus. When he was 2 years old, though, the family wanted to move back to the homeland. My grandfather really cared about that, so they moved to Armenia, but it was difficult because at that point, when the diaspora was moving back, the Armenians who never left, like there were cultural differences. Because think about it. I mean, if you're going to an Arab country, you take on some of their cultural practices and stuff, and then when you go back to Armenia, there's a little bit of a disconnect, you know?
Always.
So
The prodigal son effect.
yeah. So like there was a lot of Armenians who went to Syria, Lebanon. There's a huge Armenian community in Lebanon, Iran. In fact, there's a huge Armenian community in Iran till this day, Christian Armenians who are openly practicing their Christianity and going to church.
No purple fish.
In Iran, yeah. Yep. Yes, I have family members. And the way that Iran...
Why aren't they all genocided by
No
Iran? I
purple
thought?
You would think that
fish.
would happen, right? But no, there are Armenians in... They might not like the Ayatollah.
Give me my
they might
purple
not like the
fish.
regime, but what they respect is the fact that they're still able to practice their religion. They're still able to go to church. For the most part, they're left alone. And
There's a huge Armenian population in Iran, I think.
Yeah, that's the Armenian diaspora.
And they were originally refugees from the genocide?
Yes, yeah. I love Iranian Armenians. They're like among my favorite. They're just, I don't know. I just think that they're actually a lot more open-minded, believe it or not. The diaspora that I come from is far more conservative and a little close-minded. You know?
Purple
So, but anyway,
fish,
I
won't you
just-
shine for me, you
Armenians
bitch?
have been through a lot. They really have, and they're all over the world because of the fact that they were forced out of their own
Purple
country.
fish.
They've done so well.
Yeah, they're hardworking people. They're good people, very family-oriented. I'm very proud of my heritage, but I'm also very proud to be an American. You know, and that's the other thing about Armenians.
America.
They really love this country.
Fuck yeah.
They really do, and they feel privileged to be
This
here.
thing
You
is
know, if
taking
they
a minute
immigrated
to
here, they
shine.
feel
Holy
privileged.
shit.
My parents came here as refugees.
Shine!
In my dad in the late 1970s, my mom in the early 1980s, and
From where?
so from Armenia, both of them from Armenia.
Soviet controlled at the time.
Yes. So at the time, there was an effort, obviously, to continue containing communism, but to help
Chocolate
refugees who wanted
rain.
to flee communism. You know, when it comes to immigration, I think it's tricky, right? Because I do think that a lot of people come to this country and they contribute to it. You just-
Without question.
yeah, definitely. And I think about the Armenian community, and like Glendale's like the nicest part of LA at this point, if you ask me. And it's because it's part of LA County, but it's not part of LA City. It's mostly populated by Armenians and Cubans, by the way. And it's beautiful. Glendale, California is gorgeous. You know, they care.
I could tell
They
you
care
something
about their
else
community,
that's
they care about their
gorgeous.
families. They want to work hard. You're always going to have bad apples. And recently there was like a crime ring, an Armenian crime ring that was
I'm
taken down.
cringy.
And
I'm
glad
sorry.
they got deported. Fantastic.
I'm very sorry.
But most of them, they really, really care.
An Armenian crime ring?
Yeah.
Was there a Mormon crime ring too?
I don't know, maybe.
I've never heard of an Armenian crime ring.
In LA, I mean, look, I don't want it to paint a picture of Armenians overall because there's a huge Armenian
Come on.
population and they're very successful and hardworking and they're good
Oh, I
people.
know they are.
Yeah. But, you're always going to have bad apples. It happens. And I have no problem with them being brought to justice. And that's what went down. I think the feds actually investigated it. And it was a multi-year
no
investigation.
purple fish. And my
they
viewer
were
left.
defrauding,
Oh no.
Medicare. There were all sorts of financial crimes were taking place.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's really, and the fact that Iran has a huge Christian population, I just think it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not explained.
No one ever talks about that because it goes against the grain. It goes against the narrative of Iran. And again, that's not to say that the Iranian regime is fantastic and I support it. I don't. And by the way, it's not my place to determine who governs or who rules Iran. It's up to the Iranian people to make that
You don't think it's
decision.
up to you?
Hell no. I live in America. I'm an American. Who am I to tell any country who their leader should be? Who is our government? We should not be meddling in those matters in any sovereign country. It's up to the people of that country to either rise up and demand something different or to reform the system, whatever they want to do. I'm not interested in regime change. It's not my place at all.
I am the choir and you are preaching. So what happens to the media where you spent your entire life? What does it look like in 5 years?
I mean, I think cable news is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Because whether people want to believe it or not, I think most Americans are actually pretty smart and privy to the fact that they're not really getting the whole story when they watch traditional media, when they read legacy media. And so there's a lot more competition now online, and you have long form like this. We're having a long form conversation where there's space to actually explore the complexities of various issues. And people love that. People want to be mentally stimulated.
I agree.
I'm never stimulated when I'm watching cable news. Maybe there are some examples. Like sometimes there's like a debate segment where I'm like, okay, that was a good segment. I like that. I hate the uniformity of ideology that you get on cable news oftentimes. That bothers me. I will say this. I like Abby Phillips's show on CNN because that whole show is about bringing all sorts of people together from different perspectives to hash it out. And it remains, for the most part, pretty civil, but we're disagreeing and we're explaining why we disagree. And I like that. And she's had me on, even though I think most people in cable news probably see me as a controversial figure to some extent. But they have all sorts of people on, and I love that.
I just noticed I was saddened to see that the one conservative guy, the professional conservative on CNN, who I think seems clever, I'm not against him personally, I don't know him, but the second, we learn that, we're going to be bombing Iran now, he's all in.
Shine!
Yeah.
He's all in.
So I feel like I forget his name. What was his name? He's on often. I know who you're talking about. But the thing that kind of offends me at this point is when partisan hackery takes place. You know what I'm saying?
Do I know what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've heard about it. Yeah.
It really annoys the crap out of me. I'll give you an example.
I've participated in it.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. I give you credit because you have, on multiple occasions, admitted that the neoconservative ideology that you had taken on was wrong. I don't think most people.
I think it's evil. Is what I think.
I don't think most people who are against you on the left know how often you condemn yourself on your own podcast about that. So I just wanted to kind of draw attention to it.
Well, I just think it's important not to pretend you're something that you're not.
Yeah.
And just be honest. And I didn't kill anybody. I did cheer on the deaths of others, though, I will say. But whatever, we all make mistakes. But I think it's just important to be honest at all times. And I think that, to the extent you can.
Exactly, yeah. But just going back to the partisan hackery, I was recently on, Abby Phillips's show, and we were talking about the Epstein files and whether or not, they should be released. I'm in favor of releasing them. I think the American people deserve to know.
Obviously. But
there was a conservative guy on the panel who immediately jumped to, well, why didn't the Democrats do it? And it's like, okay, sure. Why didn't I don't care. I don't care about the partisan stuff. Okay. Democrats didn't run on it. I'm not defending them. I would have liked for them to be the ones who ran on it and actually did it, but they didn't. The one who ran on it, well, Trump didn't necessarily run on it, but he did
His voters want it.
His voters want it. Members of his administration kept
Why is there
using the
an
Epstein
egg?
files as bait to entice the base. And then also at the same time, while Trump might not have ran on it, he did use the Epstein files to attack Democrats like Bill Clinton, right? So you're drawing attention to that, and you're making the release of the Epstein files a lot more desirable to your base. To then turn around and engage in this weird, what I believe to be a cover-up, not a good look. Not a good look at all. So when we're having this discussion about what's happening at this very moment, and the Republican guy immediately goes to Democrats bad, it's okay, I know the Democrats are bad. Let's talk about this moment right now where promises were made, but promises are not kept when it comes to this specific
Or
issue.
the story itself. One of the problems with partisanship is it obscures the actual issue that
Exactly.
I'd like to know more about. And so the Epstein thing, from my perspective, has been long known, almost 20 years. The guy was a pervert and was involved in apparently a really significant sex ring.
Yeah.
Okay, with some underage girls in it. So the whole thing is gross. We knew that. But what is it?
Yeah.
Big picture, what is that? Where did the money come from? No one can answer that question.
Yeah, how did he make his money? How was he so wealthy?
Nobody knows.
Yeah, why did Les Wexner give him so much
And
money?
Leon Black, what is that?
What's going on? Yeah, I know.
So
I know.
what do you think the answer is?
I think he was an intelligence asset. That's my suspicion. Period.
Doing what? Blackmailing?
Yeah, I think it was a blackmail operation. Why were there cameras in the rooms where girls were being raped? What did he do with that footage? What was the point of that footage?
I have no cameras in any bedroom in my house.
Neither do I.
Normal people don't.
Right. He had relationships with people that were in intelligence. Obviously, Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's father, was a hardcore Zionist and worked for Mossad.
Yes.
This is well documented.
Yeah, I don't think anyone disputes that.
And he introduced Ghislaine to Jeffrey Epstein. The fact that Jeffrey Epstein was
I'm
a
inside.
college dropout, but Bill Barr's father, who worked for the OSS, hired him to be a math teacher at the Dalton School, which is a prestigious school that would only hire prestigious teachers. Jeffrey Epstein wasn't that. He wasn't a prestigious teacher. He dropped out of college. I don't know. There's just a lot of smoke, and it's led to distrust in our institutions. It's led to a lot of suspicions. And I would like to know, and I think this is very important, whether we live in a sovereign country where our politicians are actually representing us, or if we're living in a situation where a foreign country might have blackmail on our politicians or people in positions of power. And as a result, that blackmail is being used to force these politicians to pursue policies that are not beneficial to the American people, but beneficial to a foreign country.
Do you really want to know, or will you admit that it's immoral of you to want to know, and that maybe you just can't handle the truth,
no,
and
I
maybe
wanna
you're a
know.
hater for wanting to know?
I
I'd
want
like to
more
know,
than just
too.
me knowing. I want every single American to know. That's what I want. Yeah.
Last question. Do you sincerely think that anybody on either side of the aisle, which doesn't even exist, but whatever,
Doesn't.
left, right, wherever, could watch what you've said for the last almost 2 hours and come away angry?
I mean, if you're Zionist, probably.
You didn't even say anything against Zionism.
I
You're
didn't.
just like,
I didn't, but it doesn't matter. Look, if the Jeffrey Epstein suspicions are ever confirmed, that looks really, really bad. And you would want that information to never come out. So even talking about it, I feel really offends people for obvious reasons. And so I don't know, we'll see. But this is the message that I want people who might feel angry to take away from me. I don't give a fuck. That's it.
I can't improve on that.
Can I
Hannah,
marry
thank you
you?
so much.
Thank you.
That was good. That was pretty good.
So it turns out that YouTube is suppressing
solid.
this show. On one level, that's
Of
not
course they
surprising.
are. I was thinking about doing a little Mr. Dylan podcast too. I think he put something up yesterday.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tim Dillon Show. Earlier this week, 30-year-old teenagers, the Nelk Boys, received a massive amount of backlash for their interview with Benjamin Netanyahu. And although Netanyahu is widely reviled, he does maintain some support with people across the world, and even a few people in Gaza. So here to comment is Nosab from Gaza, who is a big supporter of Netanyahu.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on, Nosab. So now, tell us your story. What's happening in Gaza, and why do you support Benjamin Netanyahu?
Yes, Tim, so you know, like many people in Gaza, I have every reason to hate Israel. Shortly after October 7th, my family was sheltering under a donkey, and Hamas decided to dig a tunnel under the donkey and use the donkey as a human shield, taking out not only my family, but my head and arms and torso. And I put that blame on these barbarians that make up Hamas, because Israel is very good and merciful. And right before they bomb our donkey, they send out a text and they say, we are going to bomb your donkey in 20 seconds. But unfortunately, I forgot to charge my phone.
Well, I mean, that's Nosab. I'm sorry to hear that. But what about now? There are reports from over 100 human rights organizations that Israel is orchestrating a famine in the Gaza Strip.
Tim, that is simply also not true. Israel send all kind of wonderful Israeli cuisine to Gaza. Pita bread, hummus, falafel, and baba ganoush. And Hamas is stealing the food. Do you know what is true about Hamas? All of their wives and girlfriends are obese. They are chubby chasers. They are...
Hold on. Now, I have a little trouble. I have a little trouble believing that. What about the baby food? Are they stealing the baby food?
Yes, Tim, this is what is sick about these monsters and Hamas. They pretend that they are babies. So under the tunnels, they steal the baby food and the baby formula, and they dress up like babies, and they drink formula from bottles, and they wear diaper, and they make their plus-size women change their diaper. These are very sick people. And when the hostages ask for food, they say, we do not know. What are you talking about? We are just little babies. You will have to ask my parents.
Well, Nosab, I had no idea that this was happening, that Hamas were pretending to be babies and stealing the food. It's actually amazing. Are there a lot of Palestinians who agree with you?
Well, Tim, you also probably do not know this, but Palestinian is not real people. Did you know Yasser Arafat, he was from Egypt? That's why when you think about it, it's okay to kill us and even put us in an oven. And you might not know this, but many actually enjoy being killed. The Quran says they will go to heaven, so that is why they love being shot and droned and burned and crushed by rubble.
I can't co-sign that. I can't really agree with that. That sounds really, really insane. That it sounds like Israeli propaganda. It seems crazy.
What about the anti-Semitism on the college campuses and in New York City? You are about to elect a terrorist for your mayor.
Yes, but it's so surprising to me that you feel this way because you're a leg. You're just a leg. I mean, they've taken everything from you. I mean, you're just a leg, but you're still supportive of this.
I guess I just really like the techno music and everything that come out of that beautiful country.
All right, Noab, everyone. That's from Gaza. Supports Netanyahu. I want to talk about a few things. Netanyahu on the Nelk podcast. Brave of him. Brave to sit down like that. Truly brave. And to express opinions like that. Take a look here, Netanyahu on the Nelk podcast. By the way, saying something I said on Are You Garbage months ago, but whatever. Netanyahu.
What's your go-to at McDonald's?
No, I'll tell you Burger King. We did the double,
Whopper?
I
haven't ripped Burger King.
It's not.
Burger King kind of sucks.
Yeah.
No, you're wrong.
The BK Lounge can hit.
I disagree completely.
You like Burger King over McDonald's?
That's your worst take, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's a crazy take.
That's your worst take.
I like Burger King. The answer is yes.
Here's the thing about it's tough. obviously I am a human and want to live. But our civilization does really deserve to be destroyed. Like, that is the really tough thing about it all, is that if there was ever a civilization that deserved a cataclysmic, and again, not rooting for it, don't want it to happen. Don't want it to happen. But just statistically, I mean, could there be a better example? I mean, we just do, I mean, this guy is committing a genocide. Truly. I mean, I don't think anyone's even denying that at this point. People are like quibbling about certain components of it. Like, I know that like people are like, well, yes, they're starving Gaza, but did you see that video of that guy from Hamas stealing a banana? Did you see that? There's a guy from Hamas eating a banana, and people are like, well, he stole the banana from the people. And they're like, Hamas is stealing the food. In this whole thing, Israel has no culpability, by the way, at all. They've actually done nothing wrong. It's all been Hamas. Hamas has done everything. There's not been what they stole the food. They're shooting the people who are in line for the food. Israel's doing nothing. And you have to trust Israel, because otherwise the only people that are reporting out of Gaza, they're not letting journalists in, or they just say are Hamas. So if you report anything contrary to what Israel says, you are Hamas, or you become Hamas. So, I mean, I just, you know, I mean, the starvation, the photos of the starving, number one, we're the fattest country in the world. For the fattest country in the world to fund the starvation of a group of people is insane. Look at this. Here we go. This is the thing they keep showing, is that Hamas has bananas. All right. Yeah. They got bananas. This is the... When I ask why we're funding it, why we're starving people, we're funding a famine, people say to me, well, maybe take a look at that video of the guy in Hamas with the grapes. The guy in Hamas with the grapes. And you go, we're the fattest country in the world. Okay? Nobody is fatter than us. We are now funding the starvation of a group of people halfway across the world, or all the way across the world. I'm bad with geography, but far away. And if you bring it up, or if you chat about it, or if you talk about it, you're immediately called anti-Semitic or whatever, and it's completely absurd and insane. And this is nuts. Get up Randy Fine. Get a photo of Randy Fine. Now, this is the guy who literally said starve away. He said something like, release the hostages, which again, the children of Gaza did not abduct the hostages and cannot release them. Randy Fine, genius. Randy Fine, no, get a fat picture, my producer. Don't get a picture when he was thin. You're gonna treat Randy Fine like that? Go get a photo of me when I was 8. Then, by the way. Get Randy Fine. Look how fat Randy Fine is. Randy Fine literally said starve away. This guy is out there telling the Gazans to starve while looking like he's like full of fucking marshmallow fluff. It's the cruelest thing to just have a fatty boom batty telling the people. Get that quote up. Where he says starve away. There's a quote where Randy Fine, who is a congressman from Florida, who has a lot of the rhetoric of like the Smotrich and Ben-Gvir and these crazy far-right Likud psychopaths in the Israeli government, and calling these kids in Gaza Amalek and the children of the devil or whatever. Randy Fine has basically, I believe, said, if you look up starve away, that's what he wrote. Those were the quotes. He said Tell your fellow Muslim terrorists to release the hostages and surrender. Until then, hashtag starve away. Randy Fine. I mean, there he is. It's crazy that we are providing the material support to Israel to continually engage in this kind of barbarism. We have to cut all funding. We should absolutely cut all funding to Israel immediately. Cut all funding. 100%. I don't know why that's even controversial at this point. This is like the worst humanitarian crisis we see it witnessing unfolding. It's crazy. For the fattest country in the world to be involved in the starvation of people is insane. It's nuts. And there are people defending this with getting DoorDash. They're getting full meals. They will deliver a seafood tower to you on DoorDash, broken up in ice. I'm not going to tell you how I know, but in ice, they will deliver shellfish on ice to you. DoorDash will deliver that, and you get it at your front door. You get a lobster at your front door and eat it, and then defend how children in Gaza are. And I mean, you can see these photos. I don't want to show them on the show, but they're so disturbing. And it's like, it's crazy. Even some of the way the magazines are reporting it, like one of them was like, well, they're not dead. They're like half alive, half dead, and they're wandering around like ghosts. Like, I was like, what is this? I mean, it's incredibly disturbing to watch. What will the next phase be? I mean, I don't understand, like, what will Israel do next to them? Like, will it start to melt them? Like, will it use some type of, like, device to start melting the people of Gaza? And then will people start defending that? Go, well, Israel released the hostages. Until then, hashtag melt away. And you go, wait a minute, hold on, but you're melting people. Yeah, well, so what? October 7th. Yeah, but they're children. They're women. They're not. They didn't do that. Melt away. So what? They're gonna melt. I mean, what Stephen King horror movie penalty will be enough at this point? We have now crossed the line. Like I said, Final Destination a couple of weeks ago. We're past that. Those deaths were quick. We're like fully into like some crazy long thing. It's completely barbaric, and we should just stop the money. Take all that money that we're funding Israel with and give it to Candace Owens so she can fight her lawsuit against Brigitte Macron and Emmanuel Macron. And here's what I'm saying. Show the puss. Show the puss. Show the clit. And I'm not trying to be a problem. And you know I never am. Show the puss, show the clit. I'm not saying she was born a man. I don't know. There's a very easy way to put this to bed. Number one, have Brigitte Macron go on the Nelk podcast and have her show the clit to, what are their names? Kyle and Steiny. Have her show the clit, take the pussy out on the Nelk podcast. Brigitte Macron, put your bush in Kyle from Nelk's face. And let's get justice. How about justice? Even people starving in Gaza want to know this. Even the starving children in Gaza want to see, where is the clit? Let's play a little bit of Candace here responding to this lawsuit from Brigitte and Emmanuel Macron.
You were born a man and you will die a man. That's the point I'm making. So give us the sample.
By the way, I wish my father said that to me at like any point in my life. I wish I had that kind of support in my own household. You were born a man. You're a goddamn man. What? We have Candace Owens here. She's being sued by Brigitte Macron, who's the First Lady of France. And Candace has said Brigitte was born a gentleman. And now I have challenged Brigitte to go on the Nelk Boys podcast and show her clit. And let's do this thing. End the war in Gaza. Show your bush. Show your clit to the Nelk Boys. You're the First Lady of France. If you're afraid to show your pussy to Steiny from Nelk, then you don't get to be the First Lady of France. You don't get to be it. Show your pussy to Joe Rogan in his studio. Fly to Austin and spread your legs for Joe Rogan. Hey, Mom, that's weird, Mom. Well, it could definitely be worked on, Mom. It's pussy, Mom. It could definitely be, 100%. Could absolutely have been altered. Yeah, well, for sure. I saw her pussy, Mom. Show your pussy to Joe Rogan in Austin, Texas, and go see a show at the Mothership. Show the clit. Just do it. End the speculation. Show the gash.
Show the
This is
gash.
politics.
Holy shit.
It's the news. And this is what has to happen. We got to move on as a society from this war in Gaza and from this. Stop starving the children in Gaza. Show your clit to Joe Rogan. Go on Kill Tony. I'm the president of France's wife. And they say, I got a cock, but I got a clit. Boom. Red Band does the sound effect. Make the podcast rounds and show everyone your pussy, please. Put your pussy in Akash and Andrew Schultz's face. Schultz is like, damn. Get your pussy on flagrant. End this. Show your pussy to Theo Von. Let Theo Von see your French pussy and let him decide if it was at one point a small cock. That's what we have to figure out. Was her penis inverted and made into a pussy? This is politics. What are tariffs? We don't even know. Put your puss on the internet. Keep watching this, sorry.
So give us a sample. I'll send my doctors to take your blood.
Pussy!
Figure it out real quick. However you want to go about this. Hey, how about just giving us some pictures again of you growing up, raising your children? That would be fine. For whatever reason, to phone, by the way, like I said, we'll get to the bottom of it. Right? That is what Discovery is for. And ask a lot of questions. You're probably hoping, this will go away and at least we'll see.
Now, so here's what Candace's thing is that Brigitte was born something else. I think she stole the identity of her dead brother or something like that. And MK Ultra, that program that the CIA used, which was a mind control program, because I listened to this a while ago, and it is interesting. And I at the Beverly Hills Hotel, there's a French guy, and I spoke to him about this. And he did say to me, Macron, there is something, that's not French. What is French? Oui, Macron is, what is French? Jour de Gérard Depardieu. And Macron, he liked the boys at the hotel. And then I said I spoke about you on my show because I know you made me famous. You made me famous on your show. But what he was saying was that it was kind of known in France a little bit that something was up with this. Maybe, maybe not. And then I've had people call me and go, conspiracy, this is nuts. Who knows? It's not going to make any sense until you show Joe Rogan your pussy. That's the way we decide things in these parts. I drink cold brew year-round and used to rely on grocery store concentrate or $6 cafe runs, mostly out of what I thought was convenience, but then I found trade. Now making cold brew at home is easy. Plus, it tastes way better and costs less than buying
Oh,
cold
Kyogre.
brew at another place.
You just don't want to shine.
Trade is
today,
the number
do
one
ya?
coffee destination in the U.S. for both hot and cold coffee drinkers. They've sourced the best beans from top roasters across the U.S. and now have a special cold brew collection. Trade makes it effortless to make your own cold brew at home that's both delicious and at an amazing value. And they don't just stop at beans. They also provide expertly curated equipment that's easy to use so you can make amazing coffee at home. I will tell you this, folks. I do love this coffee. My friends drink cold brew, and they love this cold brew. They've teamed up with 15 roasters to create a special cold brew collection that ensures your cold brew at home tastes exactly how it should. Smooth and delicious. For limited time, Trade is giving 50% off a month of cold brew. That's around 60 cups of cold brew. For 50% off, when you go to drinktrade.com/Tim, that's drinktrade.com/Tim, get 50% off 1 month of cold brew. Drinktrade.com/Tim. So the MK Ultra thing, which it was like a CIA mind control, Candace says there all of these weird links to like MK Ultra mind control, and that Macron was like some weird Manchurian candidate. Now Macron's a weird guy. Let's look at Macron is now saying he's going to bring in refugees from Gaza, but let's take a look at what's really going on. It feels weird. Macron, if you can get that up, has just said, "Hey, I am going to accept refugees from Gaza." And he said, "Hey, this is what's going to happen." And everybody is going, "Well, isn't that nice that Macron is going to accept all of these refugees from Gaza?" But what it really is a relocation campaign to take people from Gaza and put them in France so that Israel can build whatever the hell they're going to build in Gaza. So everyone's like, isn't it so nice? Look at France stepping up. And then, so people are saying this, like, and then there's some people that are not dumb. And they go, well, this seems like just a relocation plan to put people that lived in Gaza in France. And so that Israel is just, now controlled demolition of all these buildings in Gaza, and they're going to build whatever they're going to build. Now, Macron goes, well, now I'll take some of the heat off myself by going, hey, listen, we're recognizing a Palestinian state. Now, Israel is like pretending to be mad at this, but this is a completely ceremonial thing because they just destroyed Gaza. It's over. What state could there? What are we talking about? Like everyone's like, Macron is, I can't believe he's recognizing a Palestinian state. What? They destroyed the whole thing. It's smithereens. The thing is done. It's like a lot of the people coming out now and going, this seems a bit much with the starving. This seems a bit, I've talked about it on the Patreon or whatever. A lot of celebrities now are coming out and going, I cannot believe. And they're so dramatic, and they're like, what is happening? They're all like half singing all the time. But it's like, well, there's no political risk in saying anything now. This guy's recognizing a Palestinian state after it's literally been destroyed. It's literally like destroyed. It's like the funniest thing in the world. It's literally been destroyed. What if, hold on 1 second. What if Ghislaine Maxwell's like, Brigitte Macron is a man? What if that's the info she brings? She's like, I'll tell you one thing right away. I'll tell you one thing first and foremost. Brigitte Macron is a cook. I knew it, and although it's known, it's got a cook. All right, go on, sorry. So here's our president on the Palestinian question. This is Macron, the Palestinian state issue that Donald Trump has asked about. And this is his response.
Counterproductive to France, for France to say that they would recognize the Palestinian state. Macron said that yesterday.
Look, he's a different kind of a guy. He's okay. He's a team player, pretty much. But here's the good news: what he says doesn't matter. It's not going to change it.
So how good is that?
Well, he made a statement, France, Macron.
I guess we'll find out with all the Ghislaine Maxwell testimony and discovery. Maybe we'll find out why we have such a unwavering commitment to the Israeli project right now. Perhaps, by the way, but you know, it's insane the level of you know, supposedly Trump admonishes Netanyahu behind the scenes or whatever, but everything we do, we just kind of support this country. This new anti-Semitism thing, which seems crazy, this law that is kind of being proposed here, and I'll actually send this to you, where it's like, hey, you know, people are basically trying to equate, again, any criticism with anything that Israel wants to do with anti-Semitism, and this is like, they're trying to enshrine all of this into law, and I just texted you. But this is becoming like so insanely obvious to everybody who's watching this, going, wait a minute, hold on, this doesn't make any sense. Jewish people are noticing this. People that live in Israel, Netanyahu's, you know, extending this war. He's not in jail. He's not facing charges. It's obvious in the Ukraine.
Fucking shiny hunting, man.
He's extending the war. Now articles are coming out about how shady they are, how much money they're stealing in the Ukraine.
I don't know why I made the challenge.
How they're not trying anyway to have peace. So here we go. Let's just take a look at this here.
Legislation will require social media companies to release detailed public reports of violations of their terms of service and to outline how they're addressing these violations, which includes the use of their platforms by terrorist groups. Every day companies fail to report this information, it will result in a $5 million fine. Social media companies can no longer hide the crimes that take place on their platforms, especially when they pose a threat to America's national security. And we're very proud of the bill has the backing of the Anti-Defamation League.
Fucking 2 hour hunt, no shine.
I was 15 years old. I had good parents who taught me it was wrong, but it left a lasting impression on seeing my first incident as a teenager. And if you're on my social media, you see it every day from people that are responding back with what I consider clearly anti-Semitic kind of messages.
Oh no!
I even saw an article today. It was about me, but talking about we got to oppose congressmen who are pro-Zionists, right? And you're like, in other words, it's all over our social media, and it's unacceptable. And what I saw in the protests after the last 2 days, they were
fucking internet.
Right? They were. You could see the anti-Semitism in their comments and how they were treating some of our members of Congress who are Jewish. And I saw that firsthand. It's unacceptable. And so we want to be in a country that makes clear that anti-Semitism or any kind of racism is repugnant, unacceptable, not allowed in my space, and with zero tolerance for it. And people should feel like they're scorned for having these ideas and espousing these ideals. And we need to work with our social media companies to clean this up. And I think it's further influencing other young
like censorship.
More, to be influenced by what they're saying that this is acceptable behavior. It is not. So we need to hold these companies accountable and work with them to take it.
Okay, we get what they're doing here.
Shut up.
Yeah, I mean, drawing a line around any ism is always a problem. Saying that, like, what concept... Now, there's obviously very obvious examples of anti-Semitism. We know that. There's obvious examples of racism. There are obvious examples of whatever you want to say, transphobia, homophobia. People hate trans people, hate gay people, don't like Jewish people, don't like black people, hate them, whatever. But then there are also discussions about things, policies, positions, political statements. All of these things need to happen in a free society, and some of the people that engage in those discussions are going to be anti-Semitic, or they're going to say things in a way that's not elegant, and they're not articulate, or they're just not good at having debates. Some of those people are going to be trolls. Some of those people are going to be trying to be funny. Some of those people are trying to be ironic. Some of those people hate everyone and are genuine Nazis, right? Free speech is not for a bunch of people that you like and agree with and think are good all the time.
Correct.
Free speech has to be for everybody. And the way that you create a political space, and I believe in this project, that where you don't have extremism and you don't have neo-Nazis running around and you don't have racists, you don't have all this craziness happening. The way that you create that political space is by trying to create a political culture where people can debate ideas, where people can be proven wrong.
It's gotta be soon.
Where people can exist without feeling that they're somehow being silenced or that there's forbidden information that they can't have and they're in the dark, and then the space in which all that information exists, they're filling that void with whatever kind of ideas they want because they don't have the actual one. You need to have an open space for dialogue and for debate. That's the only way to have certain ideas take prominence. The idea of owning a house, for example, everyone wants to own a house. That's a good idea. Ownership is a good idea. No matter how many people come in and tell you to rent, or how more, Jillian Michaels, the fitness trainer who's at Turning Point USA, she's like, no, you should actually rent an income-producing property. And then years later you get rich, and then years later after that, whatever. Are there economic realities that she's talking about? Sure. But most people want to own a fucking house.
240.
That's an American idea. It's an idea that people believe in.
It counters.
No matter how many people tell you that renting is better. In a smart city where everything's 15 minutes away, you never have to cut the grass. No matter who tells you that, it's a better idea to own a house. It's an American idea. You shouldn't be afraid of people who tell you that the real thing is renting, or the real thing is using Uber and not owning a car. And the real thing is, those are the better ways to do it. There are huge campaigns, by the way, put together by those companies that make just live in Airbnbs, just take Ubers, just the gig economy, you'll own nothing and be happy. There's lots of money that's been put behind those ideas, but the idea of ownership is still an idea in America that's incredibly popular. I believe that the idea of a live and let live society where you're not socially engineering other people is very popular in America from the people that I talk to. Maybe not to maniacs online, maybe not to people, on the dark web or people wherever, but most people in America don't want social engineering. They don't want their children to be engineered. They do not want propaganda being delivered to them from the government. They just want a space where they can be happy, have necessities, have health care, compete with other people, follow whatever their life goal is, and have their journey. That, to me, is the goal of the entire country, is to just have that. So I think in order to do that, I don't think that medieval anti-Semitism is ever going to be really popular in America. I don't think genetic determinism is going to be popular. Saying to people, you're black, you can't compete. The IQ stuff, the shape of skulls, races. To me, yes, there's people online for sure where that's a big deal. But for the vast majority of people, they're just trying to survive. They're trying to figure out how to pay their rent. They're trying to figure things out. So I think that when you create a political culture, in order to prevent it from going off the rails into extremism, you cannot, for the last 30, 50 years, immiserate people and make their lives materially worse, where they can't redo their bathroom. They can't get a knee operation. Their car breaks, they can't get to work, they're fucked. All of these people become radicalized because the material conditions of their life are much worse. That's obvious. Most of these people I was broke for years. The reason I didn't become a psycho radical is I was doing comedy. I loved comedy. I loved the group of people I was with, we had a goal and we were all doing it. We all kind of understood that part of it was being broke and part of it was not having a ton of assurances, that we were just out there taking risks. But there's a lot of people
fucking shot for me, my purple fish.
Start embracing pathology. And when you tell people that, like, the Epstein files don't exist, or that, questioning Israel makes them anti-Semitic, or that they should be funding a genocide and then a starvation campaign, it drives people insane. It makes them actually crazy, as it would. So now the material conditions of their life are worse. Everything's a lie. People know it's a lie.
Chat reflects the person
The Ukraine
you are.
war, remember that? I mean, they're
that's
stealing
true.
everything. Article after article is how much they're stealing over there. And there's no money to fix the roads in upstate New York or Pennsylvania or Detroit or Michigan. And fuck you.
You're
When
anti-Semitic.
Andreessen comes out and says, hey, the only jobs left are going to be venture capitalists after AI takes over, and sorry, that's just the way it is. And again, I think these ICE raids are barbaric. But we do need to figure out a way to worry about American people. I don't think you should be deporting 6-year-olds, throwing them in handcuffs, or people here that are here, that have been here for a while, they have roots in the community, they're doing a job. I think all of that is going to make the pendulum swing again.
Holy
where no one
balls.
cares and everybody's coming in. But you need to worry about America as a country and say, why is everything so fucked? And it's not we should be going after billionaires. Where is the E-Verify shit? Why aren't we going after people that employ illegal immigrants? Is it because they're all Trump's friends? Why aren't we going after the guys like Steve Wynn and all these hotel magnates that employ all these people and choose not to pay American wages? Why aren't we doing that? So this is what drives people insane. And it drives them crazy, to the left, to the right, wherever. They go, why am I watching some ICE show up at a graduation, but there's a billionaire on a private jet who employs illegal immigrants who's not being arrested or detained or questioned? Why is that happening? This is what drives people
This
insane.
thing does
And then they're on
not
the
want
internet,
to shine, man.
and they get radicalized. So if you want people to stop being radicalized, it's not about banning things and burning books, and the right wing does it too, although some of the books are a little crazy.
A little bit.
But a gay character in a book, and the right wing runs and bans it because they're afraid their kids are going to become gay. I understand when you're in 4th grade, but if you're in high school, you handle a book with a gay character. But some of the books are like, I don't know, some of them are a little crazy. Like I've looked at some of the books, and I've looked them up, and I'm like, wait a minute. Why are we doing this? You know what I mean? Like, some of the books, it's like Charlotte's Web, but there's a vibrator in it. It's like, you know what I mean? Like Charlotte teaches herself about self-pleasure. That I don't think is great. But if you want the recipe for radicalization, which is seemingly what everybody's looking for right now, they're going, what is the recipe for radicalization? Why are certain people off the deep end? Why do people believe the world is flat or that space is completely fake? Why do some people believe Tom Hanks is a clone? It's because the lies have gotten so verbose, and people are now starting to go, wait a minute, what is real? What the hell's going on? So you can't make an entire population poor, poison their food, stress them out to the point where they're anxiety-ridden. It can be hard to talk about not being able to be hard, to get hard. But HIMSS is here to make things much easier. They're all online process connect you with a licensed healthcare provider who can recommend.
Why are we talking about getting
hard?
hard?
In the comfort of home. Through HIMSS, you can access personalized prescriptions for ED like Hard Mints or Sex RX. Plus
not
Climax.
Purple Kyogre.
HIMSS offers access to ED treatment options that cost 95% less than brand names. New Sex RX plus testosterone support includes Tadalafil. Bedroom performance and zinc for testosterone support. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, HIMSS can help you find the ED option that works best for you, if it's appropriate. Just fill out an intake form on their site and connect with a medical provider who can determine if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication ships discreetly to your door for free. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/Tim. Find ED treatments that's up to 95% less than brand names at hims.com/Tim. Actual price will depend on product and subscription plan. Featured products include compounded drug products, which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. See website for details, restrictions, and important safety information. So many people have shit credit.
Well,
Their
what the
lives are
fuck?
terrible. You want to be one of them? Wake the fuck up. Having good credit can make your life better. Did you know that over 1/3 of Americans, roughly 36%, have below average credit scores, which can make borrowing more difficult and expensive? I didn't have credit for 10 years, and my life was complete shit. I spent the best years of my life getting thrown out of banks and off car lots. Do you want that? I don't think so. Having bad credit means your life is a big pile of shit. And that's what mine was for a decade. I had a horrible life because I didn't have credit. The minute I got better credit, my life was better. People saw me in the street and said hello instead of spit on me. With transparent, affordable plans starting at just $5 a month, no hidden fees and zero interest, Kickoff helps you score big when it comes to credit. It's simple. You make on-time payments, credit bureaus see good behavior, and your credit can go fast. I'll tell you this, I'll be very honest with you. I know I'm being hyperbolic, but the reality is, if you do have bad credit in this country, you're fucked. You
Yeah,
can't get anything.
unfortunately.
I just went through this with a friend of mine. It's so hard. You got to repair your credit. You got to start building credit with Kickoff today. You can get your first month for as little as $1. That's 80% off the normal price.
Come on,
Go to
Kyogre.
Kickoff.com/Tim. That's Kickoff without the C.
We got a Groudon and a Rayquaza to Shiny Hunt too.
Kickoff.com/Tim. Plus, sign up via Kickoff.com/XXX to activate offer. Offer applies to new Kickoff customers first month. Only subject to approval. Offer subject to change. Average first year credit score impact of plus 84 points. Vantage score 3 points.
Come on, purple!
January 2023 and January 2024. For Kickoff credit account users who start
2 hours and a half.
Come
on!
Credit profile. During the period, late payments may negatively impact your credit score. Individual results may vary. I mean, they just did a study. Look this up. The World Happiness Report, which, by the way, is my favorite.
Probably
report.
not great.
The World Happiness Report finds that young people in, Western countries are unhappy.
Wonder why.
And they're much less happy than they were like 15 years ago. Young people aren't as happy. And people are wondering why that is. Like, why are young people not as happy as they were? Is it technology? Is it social media? Here we are, young people in the West becoming unhappier. People are unhappy, and some people go, well, it's because now there are terms for mental health, and we're talking more about mental health. And in my comedy special, I talk a little bit about that yes, people are more conscious of their mental health now than they've ever been in the past. And some of that's good. Some of that seems a little, it's a little suspect. There's a lot of people that seem to be cynically using their mental health. Here we go. Average happiness of young people is on the decline across the West. A shift has driven the U.S. out of the top 20 happiest countries overall for the first time since reporting began. Lithuania took the top spot for young people, while its under 30 population rating. Lithuania took the top spot for young people. The happiest people are in Lithuania, by the way.
Great.
Part of why this is, is that young people now are looking at the world and going, is the country going to exist in 20 years?
Ugh,
Are we going to have and by the way, not because of a foreign threat, not because we're going to be invaded, not because we're going to be nuked, but they're going, is the country going to exist, or are internal forces pulling the country apart?
So when I do this, because my mic's right here, so I'm always like
young people in this study,
sucking a
lower
yackle
happiness reported
over
by the
here.
younger under 30 in the United States and Canada is linked with lower levels of satisfaction and social support, lower satisfaction with living conditions, greater stress and anxiety, lower trust in government, and higher perceptions in corruption. Because people are looking around going, is this country even going to exist? It doesn't seem like it's going to exist. It seems to be way too corrupt to exist in 20 years. So what do you do? Wait a minute, by the way, most happy places for people who live under 30, number 1, Lithuania, number 2, Israel.
What?
Maybe there's something to that ethno-state. So what I'm saying here is that, like, everyone's running around now going, how do we prevent people from being radicalized and becoming schizophrenic? Which I think is a good goal. But I think that part of that
solid goal
has to look at the entire picture of what's going on right now.
Oh, this thing does not want to
people
shine.
are sitting there.
I did not think
wondering,
this hunt was going to take
does
almost
Brigitte
3
have a
hours.
cock? Will I afford a house? Is there a job for me?
No, no, and
And
no.
there isn't. They're not. And she does. Those are the answers to those questions. But they're not. Is the country being run by pedophiles? Yes.
Yes.
Does Brigitte have a cock? Most likely.
Most likely.
Am I going to afford a house? Not nearly.
Not
Do
in
I
this
have
decade.
What kind of job am I going to get? Nothing.
You're going to work on a boat.
What young people do now, if you're a young person, this is what you do. You graduate school. Let's give you a name. Let's give you a name. Your name, I'm going to give you a male and a woman. Sorry, non-binaries. I'm just going to do a male and a woman right now, okay? The male's name is Brett. His name is Brett. B-R-E-T-T, Brett. He's a 22-year-old male. And then Carolyn. Carolyn is a 22-year-old female, okay? This is what happens to Carolyn and Brett.
Caroline gets a job
NYU.
fine.
She's a smarty pants. She's smart.
She interviews with 5 different women. They all love her, and she gets the job
Her
easy.
parents were together, and she's got a lovely home life, and she has a nice older brother, but he ended up on drugs, and he's just doing the best he can. But Carolyn went to NYU, and she went to the Stern School of Business because she's going to take over the world, and she loves all the female founders, and she listens to fucking, motivational speeches from that bitch who founded Bumble, Whitney, fucking whatever, Wolf Herd, and all these other people, and she's a badass finance bitch, and her pet causes are women's literacy in the third world. She wants women in the third world to know more about money, and that's what she does, and her name is Carolyn, and she moves from Rhode Island, and she goes to NYU, and she likes NYU, and she's very liberal, and all of her friends are very rich, and she thinks Trump is gross, and always has, and she's in love with a French guy, but he doesn't really love her, and it's whatever. Carolyn, okay?
Okay.
Carolyn.
Got
okay?
it.
Brett grew up in a suburb outside of Chicago, okay? Brett's father killed himself because he had undiagnosed mental illness. It was very difficult. He shot himself in their garage, and Brett
Jeez.
found him, and half of his face was blown off. And Brett called the police, but he knew it was no use because half of his father's face is in the garage. Brett's mother died of cancer early on, okay? So Brett was living with his father who killed himself. Now he's 17 years old, so he's right on the ledge of, he's gonna be emancipated. He doesn't need a parent, okay? Now he doesn't get any real money from his father's health with his life insurance. His dad didn't have it. So he didn't have any life insurance, okay? And they were rich.
What a shitty dad.
Here's the good news for Brett. Brett writes a great college essay, and it's called, I Found My Father's Body in the Garage, and half of his head was gone. And so the people at the college admissions office, because Brett is an A- student, he's pretty fucking good, okay? And he's on the baseball team. He's not the star, but he's on it. And he writes an essay, I love baseball, and I love playing baseball. It takes my mind off the time I found my father's body in the garage with half of his face gone. So Brett goes
Jesus
to
Lord.
Northwestern, pretty good school, and he plays baseball.
Yeah.
Okay?
They're good at
And
baseball.
his father's dead. Okay? Carolyn's at the Stern School of Business. She wants women in Afghanistan to learn about, Bitcoin. Brett's at Northwestern trying to get over the trauma of his father, who was sacrificed on the altar of globalization, and Reagan letting all the mental hospitals out, and no health care and whatever, okay? His father was also abusing pharmaceutical drugs and whatever. It just is what it is. He was also a drunk. So Brett's at Northwestern, and Carolyn's in NYU. Now, Caroline and Brett never should have met, but Brett was traveling to New York City to see a friend he grew up with who is attending Pace, a much less reputable school. In fact, it's a piece of shit. It's a prison, but that's where retards go. And Brett knew a lot of retards growing up in his town. So he goes to visit his buddy, and his buddy goes, sometimes you go to these like cool bars with really hot chicks and they're all super rich, and it's not like they'll ever go out with us, but I fucked a model last month. And Brett's like, we're going. So they go to this bar. I don't know. I haven't been to bars in years. I don't
This
know
is
what
an
they call it.
insane
They
story.
call it, the bar is just called Jew. It's a Japanese name. Now,
It's a
Brett is in this
Japanese
bar
name.
called Jew, and he meets Carolyn, who is a finance major at the Stern School of Business. She's graduating next year, and he's going to graduate next year too. Brett, of course, has majored in education because maybe he'll be a gym teacher, because he actually thinks it would be cool if he could help kids who had found their dead father in their garage get over it by connecting them to team sports, which he feels is one of the only reasons he hasn't killed himself. Okay? Caroline is outside, and Brett steps out. Brett's not a smoker and never has been, but everyone's smoking and looks cool. So Brett decides to smoke a cigarette, and Carolyn's outside, and they start chatting. Where are you from? This, that, and the other thing. One thing leads to the next, okay? They end up going home together and hooking up. This is very rare. Brett's not a Casanova. It doesn't happen all the time. Neither is Carolyn, okay? But they decide they're going to get married. They're going to make a go of this, okay? After several months of dating, long distance, Brett decides he's going to move to New York because Carolyn seems to be on some better financial footing, okay? So he moves to New York, and Carolyn and him start dating. Now, the power dynamic's a little off because she's got all the money and she's got all the friends. And the world has kind of pushed her forward, and there's nothing wrong with that. But she's got the fancy degree from the school, and Brett feels a little cocked. But he goes with it because he doesn't really have a family. His father's head was all over the garage. Okay? Carolyn loves Brett. She treats him really nicely. She likes him. He's a nice guy. He's pure, and he's simple. And she says that to her friends. Like, he's pure. He's like a good guy, and I just love him. You know, he uprooted his whole life from me. He's this Midwestern guy, and he likes sports and baseball, and his dad blew off his head, and his mother's dead, but he's a good guy. And one day, Carolyn is having dinner on the Upper West Side, and the French guy that she was in love with 2 years prior passes. And he notices Caroline, and he comes over, and he says to her, oh my God, it's good to see you. And she's like, hi, how are you? Now, this French guy is French aristocracy. He's got lots of money, an absurd amount of money. In fact, there's not that many people left in France with money. This guy's one of them. Caroline knows that, but it doesn't matter. It's filed away in the back of her head. He also has movie star good looks. But Carolyn's in a relationship with Brad, a regular Midwestern guy who watched his dad. We didn't watch him, but the body was still warm when he walked into the garage. You know what I mean? Pretty sick of his dad to do that. Close to school. But Carolyn sees this French guy, Jacques, and she chats with Jacques. And you know what? She's gonna walk to get her Uber. And she decides that and he goes, well, maybe I'll just walk with you. And she goes, okay. And they chat. She doesn't mention that she's seeing anyone, but it doesn't come up. It doesn't come up. Why would it come up? Okay? And he said, I'd love to see you again. We should go to this opening of this gallery. My friend in Soho, my cokehead friend who has no talent, has rented a gallery in Soho, and she's inflicting her mediocre art on people. Let's all go down there and see what that's about. And she, living downtown, sees no reason not to attend a very public art gallery show in Soho with an old friend. It's not a big deal. She's not cheating on this Midwestern guy who's so pure and simple. His father killed himself in their garage. So Carolyn from the Stern School of Business, who cares that women get Bitcoin so they can transcend the circumstances of living in an Afghan cave, decides to go to the opening of a mediocre artist in Soho with Jacques a very wealthy French guy. All the while, her simple, pure, Midwestern, beautiful boy, beautiful, life that they have together. She calls him a boy. He doesn't love that, but she does, and she realizes it's just because he doesn't have a lot of money and he doesn't come from anything, okay? She decides to go to this gallery opening with Jacques. Well, the gallery opening becomes a lunch, and the lunch becomes a coffee. And then she eventually has to tell Jacques, listen, I'm actually in a relationship, but I don't know what the hell's going on here, okay? But Jacques says, listen, I totally understand, but here's the reality. You're graduating school next year. I've always loved you. I never thought you loved me. We're meant to be together. We're meant to get married at my family's vineyard in the south of France. You know it and I know it. So what are we doing here? And she walks home and she's crying and it's cold and it's wet and it's raining, but she knows that Jacques is right. She knows that she's going to go and marry this rich guy and she's going to destroy this man, this Midwestern guy who's a good guy. And she goes home and they have a talk and she says, listen, Brett, go away. Listen, Brett, you know I love you and these 2 years have been the best years of my life. But I just feel like there's too many things here that will just never work. I think we want different lives, you know? You mentioned that you love the Midwest and you'd like to go back one day, and I could never see myself living there. He goes, yeah, but that's just something I say. I mean, I uprooted my whole life for you. I kind of like New York. I actually love the pizza. I thought I'd never like anything better than the tavern-style Chicago pizza, but I actually love the pizza here. She goes, here's the thing. This isn't about pizza, Brett. It's not about food. It's about the fact that I met a guy and I'm in love with him, and I'm sorry. Now Brett is hollowed out. He's hollowed out. He's vacant. There's nothing. He's angry, and then the anger translates into a hopelessness. It's a stage 4 diagnosis. It's, we've denied the appeal to death row. He knows immediately, as soon as those words leave her mouth, that there is nothing to be said and nothing to do. That he can't compete with this guy, this fairy tale French rich guy, and she's been in love with forever because he's going to provide her a type of life that Brett can't. So he then gets a small apartment in Manhattan. He moves out because he'd been living with Caroline for the last 8 months. He started out in a small apartment. Then he's living with her in a little bigger apartment in a better location, but he moves to Brooklyn. Okay? He moves to Brooklyn. He says, fuck it, I'm going to start moving to Brooklyn. I'm going to live in Brooklyn now because who cares? I just want to get laid. I want to do drugs. And I want to just be angry because my fucking girl threw me. Carolyn keeps going. And that's where her part of the story ends. We don't know what happens to Caroline. She gets engaged to this French guy. She gets really wealthy. She gets really rich. They split their time between France and the United States. She has a fake job and so does he. But Brett's now living in Brooklyn. And Brett oscillates from the far left to the far right. One day he's a literal neo-Nazi. The next day, he's a far-left anarcho-communist. And all the while, he listens to the Tim Dillon Show every day. Every day, because he has no idea which way I'm going to go. He has no idea. He just knows I'm angry at things, and he likes that. And he listens to my show. But one day, he's an Antifa, and the next day, he's a Proud Boy. He's just angry. He's full of hatred. He's full of hatred because the rent keeps going up, and nothing makes sense. I don't know what this has to do with anything, really, economically. I thought it would say more about the economy than it actually did. But my point is this. We've empowered certain women at the expense of men that have found their fathers dead in their thing. I mean, it's true. So that's what I'm getting to. So this guy's now a radical because we made this woman fall in love with French people, which is disgusting. That's what happens. And Brett dies of an accidental overdose in Bushwick. And his body is found by his Chinese landlord. You see, I made the landlord Chinese. I could have went another way, but it was a Chinese landlord. And they found Brett's body. And they couldn't call his dad. His dad's already dead. Sad. This is what's happening to young people all over the country. Well, it is. It's the summer. So many people are injuring themselves, and then they need their money. A client of Morgan & Morgan had recently been awarded nearly $1 million after jurors affirmed that her injuries from slipping on ice outside of a Panera Bread were the company's fault. Their
Ooh,
client was
Panera
working as a
bread.
DoorDash driver when she slipped and fell on an icy walkway outside the Panera in Fort Wayne, Indiana. She broke her left elbow, which led to surgery and hardware being...
Do a couple more. Then I need to eat. I really thought it was gonna pop. Nope. Just making sure I didn't miss it. Nope. Damn. Dude. Shine for me, baby. Dude, he's gotta shine soon. That's why I'm like, I'm just gonna go till 3 hours. We'll see. Come on, you fish.
Does not want to shine. Ooh, I'm getting hungry though, man. Damn, man. I don't think Deoxys took this long. Or Latios. Bitch does not want to shine. Come on, man. Come on. My hair's glitched out. Now I'm getting annoyed. And I know I'll come back to it later and it'll pop in like the first 10. That's what happened the last couple times. Just pop now though, okay? Or not. Yeah, this thing's not fucking shining. Oh! Come on. Oh. I failed the hunt. Oh, hi, Luna. Baby girl. Yeah. You're right. It's time for a break.
What? You're so cute.
Alright. We're gonna do this. Nope. No purple fish. We're gonna drop a save. And we're gonna do one last time for the boys. Nope. Nope. Alright. I'll be back on later. With some sparking. And then maybe some gears or some night rain or some something for the boys. Nope. All right. Till next time.